TruthSeekah and or its affiliates are not responsible for any strange phenomena that may occur during or after listening to this podcast, which may include the following: heightened senses of awareness, psychic abilities, UFO sightings, alien contact, time loss, out-of-body experiences, ringing in the ears, ESP, lucid dreaming, increased synchronicities, astral projection, telepathy, stronger intuition, levitation, miraculous healings, and or remote viewing. Please be advised to listen at your own discretion.
Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? To a place apart on troubled seas, faith to stand when I don't believe. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come?
You are now locked into the TruthSeekah Podcast.
Gargoyles! Psychics! Everything's ungodly! Dark's at it!
Streaming live at TruthSeekah.com.
She's not a Christian!
Give it up, y'all.
Your portal to the paranormal, esoteric, and all things spiritual.
She's tampering in Dark's at it stuff!
And now, your host, TruthSeekah.
Yo, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? You heard the man. I'm TruthSeekah. This is the TruthSeekah Podcast. Excited and delighted to be with you guys again today. Going into 2020, man. Excited, wide-eyed, and hopeful as always, man. So excited to be here talking about spirituality, self-help, man. How to help yourself, and some practices that work for us, and how we can communicate it to the people. And hopefully you can find something that resonates with you, apply it to your life, man. And that's what this is about. Here a little, there a little. Everybody holds a piece of the puzzle. We bring it together. It formulates a picture. That's what we're going to be talking about today. I want to give a huge shout out to everybody who's riding with me in 2020. Shout out to all you beautiful people supporting my work on Patreon. This show is a listener-funded show. It's not possible without your help. So thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for manifesting this with me, being co-creators in this beautiful talk that we're about to have, and everything that we've been doing and everything that I'm able to do in the future. You guys share in the harvest with that with me. Thank you guys for helping me bring this to the table. So I want to give a shout out to some of the latest patrons within the last week or so. Shout out to Jessica Dugas. Thank you, my friend, for coming on. It was awesome to hang out with you Thursday night on the School of the Mystics. And shout out to Julie, who just joined yesterday. Welcome to the fold. Welcome to the family. And thank you guys for the support. If you would like to support, head on over to patreon.com/TruthSeekah. There's a link in the description. You get access to my entire discography of music, which is like 200 plus songs. You get access to our Thursday night School of the Mystics. I have some guided meditations on things on there as well at different levels and tiers, and a bunch of really cool stuff that we're bringing to the table. Patreon.com/TruthSeekah. Check it out. And yeah, my book is here. If you guys haven't had a chance to get a copy of the book, it's available on Amazon. Spirit Realm, Angels, Demons, Spirits, and the Sovereignty of God. Foreword by the great Jordan Maxwell. Go check it out if you haven't had a chance yet. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring on today's guest. Today I'm speaking with my friend, Mark Edwards. Mark, welcome to the TruthSeekah Podcast, man. How are you?
Hey, greetings, brother. Appreciate you having me, man.
Oh, for sure, bro. For sure, man. And I don't know how we got acquainted on Facebook. Somebody added somebody, and I've been following each other's work for a little bit now, and seen some of the stuff that you bring to the table. Very connected to the earth, connected to the sun, spiritual practice, QiGung, diet, all of those kind of things that you're doing, very conscious. And I was like, man, I want to have you on for an interview, pick your brain, and love what you're doing. So we scheduled it, booked the interview. Here we are, man.
Yeah, it's amazing how everything lines up, But my journey, I started like actually like 10 years ago, but it was not really like QiGung, but there was a kind of an elder in the neighborhood. He was in the military, and that's kind of vague. He was in the military, but he was the one that kind of opened my mind back 10 years ago. And he told me about how the military technology is about 75 to 80 years ahead of us. And, before it's even open to the public, they go through a process of reverse engineering. They got to water it down. They put it on shows as well. They use TV, predictive programming as well to, before you introduce it to the public, they get us kind of equated with the idea, just like the Jetsons, But the main thing he kind of put me on to was about how they weaponize the technology and how it's weaponized. And you have individuals that's targeted throughout the planet. It's not just a specific country. And these individuals, I can't remember the name of the book, but these targeted individuals, they actually torture them psychologically. And they use them as assets. It's called CIA assets to, for example, you could start civil wars in the country. You could use these particular individuals to orchestrate chaos. So the first part of me stepping into this, what we'll call esoteric realm, was realizing how the chaos is so orchestrated here on Earth. It's not a lot of it. The major events that they put on CNN are not random. Now, that was the first step. And then he just like Jordan Maxwell, I see you brought up Mr. Jordan Maxwell. Oh. That was the beginning part of my journey too. For sure. When he talked about tohu vohu, the destruction in the creation story, and how you have I do have a school online where I do teach the two different accounts of creation. You see, because one thing, a lot of my elders, and there was a few yogis that put me onto the practices that we can talk about. They always told me to try to start at the beginning of the story as to why we in this predicament, And if you really go deep, you kind of start off exoteric, right? Where you look at the Vatican, you may look at the reptilian agenda, and you start to see, this cabal that's ruling over humanity, which some people will call the Illuminati or something, right? Yeah, the cabal, and it's different names. The Incubella, I don't know if I pronounced it right, but really what really changed the game for me was when I learned occult biochemistry and occult physiology. And that the real control was through the nature of the cell. That's what the sorcerers really did. Because, for example, when you walk in Walmart or, the food store, you look at the ingredients. Obviously, we have no idea what's in these foodstuffs, but they do. And it's something that was kind of ringing in my head. Because this guy, when I was 19 years old, he used to take me in the store. A lot of people kind of thought he's a little crazy. And he used to say, look, the choice was already made for you based on what you can ingest. And that the particular stuff we ingest, it causes a chemical concoction in our stomach, our second brain. And it affects, the chemistry in our brain. We can't think incorrectly. That's why you look at the wordplay in the English language. They say we live in days. And if you look at days, it's D-A-Z-E. You kind of break that down. It means to think incorrectly. So the chemical concoction that we, from the foodstuffs we eat, changes the nature and mind of the cell. And the main thing that's attacked in the genetics is the biological terrain. And the biological terrain is the interstitial fluid. That's another name for the interstitial fluid that constantly bathes the cell. So when you change the terrain, the inner terrain, it's like changing the ocean. If you want to mutate all the fish, you change you poison the whole ocean. Right. And the fish start to mutate to that. So when we say the terrain has been polluted, that's like the ocean for the cells, for the microorganisms, because a lot of parasites that seem bad had to transmutate and adapt to an environment of scarcity, lack of oxygen, minerals being depleted. And what this does, this causes free radicals. You have a lot of cells that start to steal electrons from each other. Okay, so it causes almost like a ghetto world internally.
Wow.
That's one of the, if you look at Genesis chapter 2, Genesis 2 represents a second account of creation. When you look at Genesis 1, it says that we were made in the image of the gods, Elohim. As you know, Elohim is plural, in the image of the gods. But when you go to Genesis 2, it represents a man that was created more from the earth, more denser, gross, third-dimensional material. Whereas Genesis 1, we were more of the subtle ethers. Our cells reflected more of the higher worlds. Hence, you look at the two different dynamics in Genesis 1 and 2. Genesis 1, we were left to be put over dominion over the earth, to subdue the earth. Whereas Genesis 2, we, was just put here to till the ground. But it's two different accounts. And the second account, Genesis 2, represents a mutation or an adaptation to environment. It could also be genetic manipulation. But our ancient progenitors, the ones that seed human souls into vessels, there were wars that took place between our ancestors. And, we do have a few arch enemies. You could call them the Archons. You could say they're reptilians. Obviously we weren't there, but there is another mindset that seems to look at us more as a product or look at us more as cattle rather than sentient, loving, free, sovereign beings. Yeah. You see? So one side represents perfection of DNA, sovereignty, and then you have another one shows an imperfect DNA, a genetics that entraps us more into the earthly plane, the third dimension. So now, but all of it deals with, too, the biochemistry, whether they say that it was the Anunnaki that decided to alter our DNA or it was from cataclysmic events. Maybe it was, a bit of both. But there was a canopy that was over the earth. Okay, this was when the earth was the Eden, the golden age, the Satya Yuga. And through the wars, the bombs, the cataclysmic events that took place, the tohu vohu, we started to actually have to wear clothing. We needed to be protected from the rays of the sun because the canopy layer, you could call it the hydrogen pressed dome or whatever, over the earth, it was affected. And there was more UV lights and stuff that came that was damaging. So there was a particular clothing given by our ancient progenitors. Okay. Men had a particular way that they had to be clothed. And then you had women also had a particular clothing as well to protect us from the radiation. And there were even some ancestors in Kemet that was reeked of garlic because garlic helped to offset some of the pollution. I don't know if they were really ingesting it, but they had it all over their skin, and they had wigs as well and had to clothe themselves. Some even wore skirts, men. Some even wore skirts, but it was because to protect the biochemistry for what was going on. Now, the reason I kind of bring it up, going back to, and it's kind of it's a lot to talk about. So we just kind of generalizing it so people get a grip on the story, was that we, when you look into the occult, it says that we fell, we fell from a more higher, pristine level of consciousness. You know, and I don't mean to be talking so much, but if you want to engage.
No, you're good, man. You go. I've got a bunch of questions, but I'll just chime in whenever. But no, I like where you're going. Keep going, because this is new for a lot of people. So.
Right. So I don't want it to be one way. I don't want you to think that, you know what I mean? I'm definitely a good listener. So, going back to what I was saying, when you look at the inner terrain or in the genetics, what happened with humanity and its further entrapment on Earth, because at one point our bodies were not as dense, okay, as we once were. It represent more of what you could call the fifth dimensional world, where, you know, we have an over-exaggerated expression of this third dimension. And what happened was, when you look at you have two different types of cells in the body. Really three, right? Let me bring up the three. You have the germ cell, the somatic cell, and then you have stem cells. But we can just focus on the two main components. The two different cells are the somatic cells, which are the body cells, okay? The hair, the skin, the eyes, any body cells. And then you have the germ cell, which is the immortal cell, the immortality, the original programming. Now, the germ cell only exists mainly in the gonads, but it does fall from the cerebrum. You see, in the cerebrum, for example, when a man impregnates a woman, when the sperm meets the egg, the ovum, and penetrates into the wall, there's a little infinitesimal, and that just means something that's so small that you can't see it. It's on a microscopic level. There's an infinitesimal implosion that takes place, almost like a little mini Big Bang. Mm-hmm. And this infinitesimal implosion actually is what aligns your DNA. It's like a portal that opens up for the incarnation of that particular soul. Now, this little Big Bang, what takes place is as the soul incarnates, you see, hold on, I didn't want the thought to leave me, because I was talking about, okay, yeah. Now, through the germ cell, this germ cell is how we propagate as a species. You look at any animal species, human species, this is how we continue our eternity on Earth. Because, for example, you know, through the germ cell is where we get our sense of evolution. Because we may not know how to cultivate it, which we'll get into, but we know how to cultivate it as an animal. We know how to have sex, animal generation. So you impregnate the woman, you have a child. Oh yeah. So where I was going with that, in the Big Bang, the little infinitesimal Big Bang, the first organ that appears in the embryo, the very first organ, is the cerebrum. Okay, the upper brain, the cerebrum, and the pineal gland. Now, this is where the mythology came from with Satan, saying that Satan was the first angel to fall from heaven. Okay, the pineal gland and the cerebrum were the first organs to manifest within the human embryo, because man is like an upside down tree. From the cerebrum, from the higher worlds, the seed, we kind of grew from the higher to the lower. That's why you look at the nervous system, we're like trees. It's like a branch growing from the seed and coming down, right? So, like, if you watch Santos Bonacci and a lot of other occultists, they'll talk about that, the cerebral spinal fluid, which is really popular right now, and not popular, but getting more known. Yeah. As it secreted from the cerebrum, it's passed on to the pineal, then comes down into the sexual gonad area.
Well, let me ask you this, because there's a lot of understanding that would kind of like reverse that. It would say that it comes from, the sacral, and then you raise it up, like the kundalini rising up the spine. So a lot of people teach it differently, where it's something versus trickling down, that it rises up that way.
Right, which is true. But you see, it drops down and it gets trapped there. You see, because sperm, what we call sperm, comes from the brain. It's like a vital brain fluid. And that's why, you see a lot about semen retention.
Yeah.
And it affects because it helps to fine tune certain chemistries in the brain, helps to, even with the pineal gland, that helps to balance out the left and right hemispheres of the brain. But the problem that takes place is it doesn't rise up. And since the body is a temple and is the church, if you go in any religion, like if you go into Christianity, they tell you the truth, but they misinterpret it. When they say that you have to give tithes back to church, you have to give tithes back to the Creator. That's true. It's not fiat currency. It's the internal currency, meaning as a man with the cerebral spinal fluid, the sperm, and as a woman, they lose it through menstruation. If they rapidly bleed, if you look at Montauk Chi, they talk about ovarian breath work as well for women and testicle breathing that helps to rise the energy up. Now, seminal emissions, losing your semen to a man is the same as a woman losing too much menstrual blood. You see? So it's the whole thing about sovereignty is learning how to close the loop, because the avatar that was given to you by the gods is a gift, and it was built to be self-sufficient. But we was born into what they say, born into sin. And through the germline mutation, we grew up with a void. Like there's the biggest issue with humanity is we don't have good parenting skills. You see, we weren't equipped with that, with all the war and slavery and all that went on, both black and white. So the problem with the germline mutation is as each generation started to be passed on, we gradually started to get more entrapped into addiction, into what they call somatic addiction. You see, so the problem is, going back to the terrain, how the sex cells get trapped, or your freedom, which really rebuilds the temple and spiritualizes the temple. You see, how it gets trapped is the terrain, the acidic biological terrain, changes the nature and mind of the cell to be self-serving. Okay? It's much like when you look at cancer cells, for example. Cancer cells and yeast cells are very low in enzymic activity, very low in life force energy. So because these cells are very low in life force energy, they can't create minerals. They can't create or they don't have the necessary minerals or biophotonic energy to create neural pathways to wake up certain dormant parts of the brain and dormant parts of the body. Since we grew up in addiction, okay, and food is the biggest culprit, food addiction. A lot of the neurons in the brain, in the gut, all over the body, a lot of processes went into a dormant state because we didn't use it anymore. If you eat 3 times a day for 20 to 30, 40 years, the only thing that's mainly used is digestion. So with the adaptation process, you see, a lot of necessary biochemical processes in the body that were natural went into a dormant state because we started to lose biophotonic energy, chi, life force energy, and the cells start to adapt and they turn into cancerous cells in order to survive. It's not demonic. It's just a will to survive. So when you look at disease is something that prolongs our life. It doesn't kill us. We kill ourselves. When you see someone die in a hospital, the majority of people don't die from a disease. They die because they're not willing to change, or there isn't a high or a certain good level of understanding of self-knowledge. We don't know how to cultivate energy anymore. It was kind of a forgotten thing, and it started to be grouped into esoteric circles. You see, now it's coming back out in this age of Aquarius, But the thing is, dealing with cultivation and meditation, it's the foundation for energizing the body, because you could believe that you get energy from food, but if that's the case, why is it that if you eat for 3 to 4 days and don't sleep, you'll be like a walking zombie? You will have no energy. It's because the body has to shut down and harness chi energy, harness the ethers. We only get energy from the ethers. And in sleep is unconscious cultivation. Okay? Meditation is conscious cultivation. And if you follow this brother, it's a few, the other yogi that taught me this stuff is off grid, not at all. You can find him. But the one that's really known is Elatom Elamine. And he's someone that puts this knowledge out. So I want to shout out to him. I also want to give a shout out to Dr. Phil Valentine and his school for teaching me on the somatic addiction and the biochemistry as to why we die. So I just want to say that's where I got, they kind of go really deep into those avenues as well, because they have more video content than me. So, going back to, all our life, we've only been taught how to break the loop. Okay? So in other words, we were raised to be demons. That's why when you look at demonology and demonic forces, they have horns. When they talk about Satan, he has horns, and the horn represents a breaking of the loop. Ejaculation, eating unnaturally, the 7 deadly sins. What they talk about in church, the 7 deadly sins, are the habits that impede our spiritual magic.
It's like a primal earthly nature, like the first thing that you run to, the lower nature stuff, the sexual deviance and things like that, right?
Yeah, and it's so instilled in us. Yeah. It's really instilled in us, and it's almost like we don't even know how it feels to live without the enemy. You don't know. The enemy is the one that feeds you. So we in a difficult place because
that's deep.
Everything,
though. It's not just the food. It's the entertainment. It's what to think. It's what school to go to. It's who to be attracted to. You know what I'm saying? It's everything, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Entertainment. And the funny thing is, addiction to food and entertainment go together. Because if you're addicted and you eat too much and you lose your fluids, a lot of your blood work is down in the gut. Okay? And you cannot access the higher creative parts of yourself, because cosmic consciousness, the omniscient intelligence, expresses itself through healthy cells.
Yeah.
You see? Pristine cells.
People have gotten used to feeling this way, right? We know we've kind of gotten used to what it feels like to always be full, to have gut rot going on, for you know what I'm saying, our brain not working correctly like it's supposed to, optimizing at minimal percentage to make it through the day. We've gotten used to this stuff and we don't even know it, right? When someone starts any of these practices, I mean, we can get into a bunch of them, but any of the stuff, whether it's focusing on the diet, whether it's starting to meditate, whether it's breath work, I mean, there's so much more. Sun gazing, bathing in the sun, grounding, putting your feet on the ground. So many beautiful spiritual technologies that we have that are connected to our bodies, to the physical, semen retention. When somebody starts that, they can immediately kind of get a glimpse or feel, hey, there's something to this. It's like a moment of ecstasy of like that's tied into our DNA. Like, hey, you need to keep doing this, keep this up, and they feel better. Right. You know what I'm saying? So people, even though they've got a life of debauchery, a life of overeating, whatever it is, some of these practices you can feel it immediately, right?
Oh yeah, it's
encouraging too, right? That it's not going to take. Obviously, it's a life laid down. It's take up your cross and follow me kind of thing. But you can feel it instantly too.
Oh yeah. And it's a thing where it becomes real when it's a personal experience.
Yeah.
And it's a little, human beings life is simple, but human beings are complex because of each person has a unique trauma that it could be trapped in a certain part of the body, in the nerve muscle, in the brain, so it's like when you're dealing with people, you really got to know their story from the very beginning. You can't just jump, okay, well, eat fruits, do this. Because here's the thing, everyone's body needs something different. Like what made my regimen that I'm so passionate about, okay? Because I also do urine therapy, and I'm like, that's been a big part for me, But to someone else, they like, I was trying to get this sister on, and she's like, I can't do it. I cannot drink my urine. I can't do it, So, but there's so much protocols, and it's like, there's so many ways to the walk, but we are walking in the same place. But it's one principle in place, is learning how to conserve and cultivate. Because this is the value of life, the value of the light, okay, is only based on how much value you give it. This is an eternal process, you see? And I've seen, like, the brother that put me on, I've seen him live on urine, like, just 5 months, just on his, like, heavy on his thing. He was doing a cleanse. And all he did was just loop his urine. Didn't drink water, didn't eat. And it was through retaining his blood plasma. It helped him towards the food freedom aspect, or what they call a breatharian aspect. And now he's at that level where he eats, I guess, for entertainment, so to say. It's not a survival thing. Now, I am not saying I'm there. But I do understand the knowledge, and I'm working my way. And I personally think I got a long fucking way to go with that. But the levels that we could rise to is amazing. Like what people may not fully understand is, because you have people, for example, if a therapy really healed you, you start to become a die-hard fanatic, right? And then what happens? Later down the line, that same therapy causes some implication. Like you look at a fruitarian, because fruitarianism, all diets are some type of therapy. And it's what is the diet? The diet is a tool meant to take you to a place. But the problem is, if you stay there, certain things start to happen. Like some fruitarians' teeth started to drop out because they probably believe you have to eat 3 times a day, instead of like realizing, shit, I don't have to eat as much. Because as the cell starts to, especially if you keep in your sperm and you know how to rise it and move it up and down, women, as they bleed less, and a lot of women may not know, and they probably don't even want to listen to a man. Like, you're a man. What do you know? But sisters, there is a book called The Wounded Womb. I do suggest it's a very rare, one-of-a-kind book on the suppressed truths about woman anatomies and woman diseases. You see, the book even goes into how women that wear jeans and all these tight clothing cause diseases in women. Okay, woman, based on our ancient progenitors now, the gods, when there was a cataclysmic event, we couldn't walk around fucking naked no more and shit. Okay? The woman, the anatomy of the gynec woman, the natural woman, she's supposed to dress in a almost like, if you see the sundress, or it's a dress with a long skirt, right? And the designing of the clothing was meant for proper airflow. You see, to her vaginal area, so there's some clothings now that have become fads have not really have actually put us back, and a lot of fibroid tumors, cysts. A lot of sisters may not understand it could happen even from wearing too much tight clothing. You see, so again, the book is called The Wounded Womb by Phil Valentine. It's a really good book for any woman or sisters listening, and it will challenge you too. So it's always good to be challenged. So anyway,
Let me ask you about this just before we get too far from it, and you can just give an overview. We mentioned semen retention, holding your semen. You know, I mention it in some of my music as well. Hold your semen, walk in power, develop it, cleanse your mind from the succubus, hold it in and stay celibate. For somebody who's never heard that term, we know fighters back in the day, not even so much anymore just because the knowledge is being lost, but fighters would, like if they had a boxing match come up, they would hold their semen. It wouldn't, they wouldn't masturbate, they wouldn't have sex for at least a good month before a fight so that they would be performing at their top optimization. For somebody who's never heard that, what are some of the benefits of semen retention, holding it in, and what are some of the warnings or red flags for someone who is addicted to pornography and masturbation?
Okay. All right. So this is a good topic. So the thing is now, semen retention, you hear the good things, but it does have implications when you do not know how to move the energy, when you do not know how to settle your mind. And meditations like the microcosmic orbit, embryonic breathing, where you learn how to breathe into your lower dantian, and then you contract the PC muscle, which is the muscle that holds the P, right? You contract that and you draw the breath in right as you contract it. And when you get good at it, because I do it every day, when you get good at it, you feel a tingling sensation right in your pineal. You feel tingling in your hands. When you exhale, the PC, you have to push it up. It's like the muscle between the anal and like the balls. It's a way where you could push it up as you exhale, and the stomach is supposed to draw in. And what that does is you're bringing and drawing in life force energy, cosmic energy in the air.
And so as you do that meditation, you can, whether it's literally pulling it yourself, if you can feel it, it's definitely like you're following that track as you're raising it up, as you're going up. Can you follow it up?
You feel it going. You feel you feel it moving.
Literally.
And the evidence, yes, it's in, because especially when you go slow, you start from here, you come down, your belly expands. And then when you contract the PC muscle, the minute you contract it and draw the breath in, you feel it tingling right in your pineal. And then when you exhale and bring it up, you see, you feel it both ways on the inhale and exhale.
Yeah.
You see? Now that's called embryonic breathing, testicle breathing. I actually practiced for probably 8 months. It took me a minute to learn how to naturally do abdominal breathing. It takes some practice, because most people, the problem is before you even, when you do semen retention, you should not be a shallow breather. You absolutely should not be a shallow breather. Most people breathe like they have a panic attack. That's how we breathe in a panic attack is how we naturally breathe, or like a dog. It's just like shallow breathing, because that's like animals kind of breathe shallow like that. But when you could draw it in, what you actually doing, that's a way of spiritualizing the avatar. And with QiGung, you do specific hand gestures, mudras that mimic tree poses. Because just like the tree, the photosynthesis, the chlorophyll, converts the sunlight into a nutrient. Now, what we have as human beings, since we're plants, we have hemoglobin. You see? Now, hemoglobin and chlorophyll, the molecular compound is fucking almost exactly the same. Okay? Hemoglobin is, if you have a low count of hemoglobin in the body, that could bring some implications into drawing in enough sunlight, because, as if you lack an iron as well, you need good iron to be able to, when you take in sunlight and you don't have an obstructed flow, what does the substances that are secreted get to flow to all the areas of the body and the endocrine system without any obstruction, so it could actually do its work. You see? So with semen retention, people that tried to do it and they don't know the necessary protocols of living or cultivation, it can bring some form of prostate problems. And, you know, or the body's just going to be like, look, you ain't doing shit with it, man. I'm going to push it out in a wet dream. You know, it could push it out in a wet dream, or you could have a succubus type of archonic energy that it doesn't have to be evil. Again, it's not like this thing is out to get you.
It's
not
the way
really,
things work.
It's a maggot. Like if you leave meat in the fridge, you would see maggots form. So look at the succubus type energies as, look, the universe is like, look, man, look, Derek, you ain't doing shit with it.
Yeah.
It's just sitting down there, and we can't have it sitting. It might cause some shit. So they may implant some thoughts in your head, get you all riled up, have sex with you or whatever. But when you learn how to get it moving, you wouldn't have that issue anymore. But then it ain't just that, because food and drink mastery and sexual mastery kind of go hand in hand. So if you eat heavy, like me from experience, my tantric is extremely difficult if I eat too heavy before. But if I'm on a lighter diet, I notice that I could draw the breath in much. It's just more easier for me to control. So the lighter the diet, the closer to you getting past that learning curve in the sexual mastery. You see? So everything kind of goes together, you know. And to an occultist, there's really no such thing as a healthy eating. But there's heavy eating and there's light eating. That's it. And notice, hence, light, you get the word light, bringing in biophotonic.
That's good.
So light, meaning even if you eat whatever, right? Obviously, it's better not to eat too much cooked stuff where it's void of the minerals and stuff. But if you eat less, a meat eater that has an open window to eat, intermittent fast, is much more on a higher level than a vegetarian that splurges all the damn time, a vegan that overeats, raising insulin all the damn time, snacks. So if the discipline of intermittent fasting, fasting one day out, because I intermittent fast, this is a natural thing every day. Sometimes I don't eat till probably 4 or 5 o'clock, or sometimes I just skip it, you know. But what it does, it helps with keeping your body in a fasted state, so that your colon will get too obstructed, you know. And another thing, notice too, now, a lot of people may disagree with this, but this is my personal experience and my research. Now, urine comes through the same tract as sperm, okay? Now, there's a kind of a little debate going on between Dr. Morse, you know, with the fruitarian thing about urine being toxic. Then you got us urine enthusiasts talking about it's not. But understand, there were a few brothers trying to discredit me a few months ago, but they were heavy into semen retention though, heavy into semen retention. But I tell them, I say, look, man, if your urine is stored where your sperm count is, the body's not designed to dump deadly toxins in mixing with your sperm count. You see? Now, there may be some toxins in the urine, but it's at such a minute level, and it's been changed by the liver. You see? Where if you drink it, you reintroduce it and let it sit under the lymph nodes under the tongue. The lymph nodes start to study that as information. Okay? It's almost like where they got the whole vaccination thing from. Okay? So urine is a part of the design to help with rebuilding the body or getting out excess waste and mucus. You see? Because it's mostly distilled water. And by the time the blood plasma, which is, because urine is plasma ultrafiltrate, that's the term, medical term. By the time it comes to the kidneys, because notice you have 2 passageways, and I'm going to get back to semen retention, but, you know,
you're good.
Yeah. But because it helps with, the reason I bring it up urine is because it helps with decalcifying the pineal gland. Not from a book, brother. Not from a book. my shit got really active when I started to take in my morning urine, because when you wake up out of a fasted state, a lot of beneficial substances in there, you see? So the thing is, the body has two passageways. When it gets to the liver cleanses the blood. Now, the bad stuff is excreted out the anal, through the skin, through the eyes, out the hair, out the nose, even out the mouth in some cases, right? The filtered part, the excess filtered blood, goes to the kidneys. And the kidneys, by the time the blood plasma come to the kidneys, it's already filtered by the liver. So the kidneys don't necessarily filter. What the kidneys do is that they regulate. They don't filter toxic shit. The liver does that. But the filtered blood plasma, when it comes to the kidneys have little nephrons in it. And these sensors are attached to, basically these nephrons are throughout the whole body and in the blood. And they regulate and say, okay, well, what's needed now? Okay. What components in this filtered blood plasma is needed right now? All right. And what's not needed at the moment? About 80% of the filtered blood goes back into the bloodstream. Another 20% that's not needed, that's decided by the kidneys, is stored in the bladder. You see? So you already have where the body's designed, where it keeps the filtered part of the blood plasma. You see? But the extra 20% that's not needed at the moment is sent to the bladder. And the reason we excrete it out is just because it's just a cup. Like it only could hold so much. Like the Bible say, my cup runneth over. So, for example, if you have some herbal tea, you keep pouring it into a glass. Eventually, if you made a lot, the glass can overflow. Now, the part that overflowed, you're not going to say it's toxic. You're not going to say it's a waste, because the glass only could hold so much. So even though we excrete out this blood plasma, it's still useful. But again, we grew up as somatic addicts. We addicted. So we eat and drink so frequently where the body is overworked and it constantly is leaching out minerals and certain vital things, growth hormones as needed. You see? So, it's a lot on urine therapy out there, but I'm just saying that it is something that did help me with my meditations, activating the pineal gland, more than anything, because wow. I did other things too. So more than
anything, like, or is it more than anything, or is it obviously it's a combination of anything? More like if you was to say more than anything, it was like, hey, just drink your urine and you're going to be super spiritual. There's a combination of the meditation, of the breath work, of the sun stuff. So
I like that you said that.
Okay.
It's a combination that makes it high quality.
Okay. Because
you have it where you could have habits and thoughts that the quality of the urine could, it could smell bad. It could, it could not be that great. It still will cleanse you, but you probably won't get the spiritual component. You know what I mean? So, but you're right. That's why I do an intermittent fast, because in a fasted state, the body produces the growth hormones boost up 1,000%. You see? So there is a mode of living that for me personally, more than anything, under a certain cultivation, meditation, urine helped to kind of kickstart this organ right here. You see? So I could set it on a personal level. All right? I'm not speaking from like just reading a book or anything. So, and at the same time, still the most powerful substance is semen. Even the secrets of the way to immortality, even if you want to look at the way for true longevity, because the real food that's produced is our sperm. Because you look at the proteins, the zinc, there's substances in sperm and urine that don't even have names. Like, I know people like to talk about all the nutrients and minerals we need, but you got substances that they ain't never even been discovered. Never been discovered. And it's within our cerebral spinal fluid. So when you hold that and think about it, You can't go to some scientist that could concoct the exact same antibodies or substances that your own body can produce. So the goal of herbs and stimulants and food was to stimulate the body into a specific action that may have been dormant. That's why stuff like ayahuasca and certain things have a high value to it, because it stimulates the body. Okay, but the thing is, you're not supposed to get addicted to these things. That's where we fuck up with, because ayahuasca is so great, because the food tastes so good, because we invert the energy into where now we are like junkies, and almost all of us have turned into junkies because, oh my God, this makes me feel so good. And for anything, self-love is if you can drive fast and be okay with yourself. You don't need to constantly, every day of your life, stimulate to get some like reaction, you know. You organically are getting it just from, you know, right from the ethers, because that's what we was designed for, as ethereal.
Let me ask you this question, man, and I'm going to preface this. I don't want to ask you this question, but I have to, because it's what I do. When they come up and it's there, because I know people are thinking this or wanting to ask this question. You're tying in the semen and the urine together a little bit, and talking about the power and the benefits of drinking urine. There's a lot of articles about nutrients and vitamins and all of these things that are in semen. There's studies and there's books talking about using it as a skin cream, women putting it on their face to look younger. There's a lot of crazy stuff. What about drinking semen? There, I asked the question, guys.
Yes, drinking semen. Well, I do see it in my urine at times, right? You know, like if I get a little hot with the queen or whatever, you know, after that. But I do see it in my, I never like, I don't know, I never like, I guess, spill it out.
Are there people who do that though? Like, is there have you heard of like a realm of people, like, you know, because it's almost like there's no end to like perfection. Like, this is more spiritual than urine. You know what I'm saying? Is there any of those schools of thought, or not really? Nobody really touches it? Yeah,
well, I know that I only can think of woman, but when I think of woman, it's like kind of in a sense where, you know, they're going down. But as a man, like to like masturbate, and it took so much energy to create it, and that specialized type of fluid, you know what I mean, that it would just you just got to keep it in, man. You just got to know how to move it, you know what I mean, like, because think about it, that is drinking it.
Okay, because you're keeping it in, so you're able to enjoy the benefits of it by keeping it in, just like the water. The drinking water, as long as you stay hydrated, you're enjoying the benefits of water because it's in your body. Kind of the same principle, right? The food, the nutrients, and things like that. Because it's in you. That makes sense.
And I just want to say, again, urine therapy is a therapy, just where fruitarianism is a therapy. All these things help you. And the only time you let them go is if you actually learn how to cultivate to higher levels where you don't need these particular things that you believe you need.
Breakfast is a big one.
Huh?
I said breakfast is a big one for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Just something that's simple.
But the main way to get past this is to learn how to close that loop, right? With the semen and menstrual for women, right? So you see, but the thing is, the microcosmic orbit. See, now it's a little science with moving it up and down, though, because when you do this meditation, you have to put your tongue at the roof of the mouth, and that closes a circuit, because you have the perineum. I don't even remember what the name of the other one is, but it's two main channels, and how it works is when naturally, without you putting the tongue at the roof of the mouth, you have the energy coming up the spine from the back, coming forward to the head, and then it kind of comes back this way, right? And then you have the front channel coming up, but then it kind of comes down, and they don't kind of, you know, there's a circuit that you can close with your tongue. And when you put the tongue to the roof of your mouth and massage the roof of your mouth, you stimulate the pineal gland. And what that does, that it makes it easier for you to move the energy up and down in the primary meridian chi channels. You see? That's why when I meditate, I always put my tongue at the roof of the mouth. You see? All the time. Like the whole time, I have my tongue at the roof of the mouth, and then I draw in the breath, I contract the PC muscle. And, you know,
with the tongue at the roof of the mouth, you're going to be breathing through the nose, right? The circuit.
Yeah, I breathe through the nose. But, you know, I do breathe out the mouth.
Yeah.
Like, I can't breathe in and out the nose, but I do breathe out
It's
the
like
mouth
a
as
circuit
well.
that comes up.
Yeah, like a circuit. But it takes, to be honest, like, it really, you got to practice breathing into, like, your lower dantian. That's the foundation. Because what they call the lower dantian in QiGung is your energetic center. You have 3 of them. But the lower dantian in your solar plexus navel area is like your bank account where you store spiritual energy. You see? So if you're not activating it, and obviously to activate it, you got to draw energy into it. You see? Just holding in your semen. I mean, you probably just can have a wet dream, man. You know, I mean, you can still see benefits.
Yeah, because like I know they're saying just on a you know, there's a lot of stuff out there the doctors are putting out, even talking where it's not even esoteric or anything. We're just saying like you're not motivated. There's no creativity. You don't feel like doing anything, and it takes a while for it to actually build back up by just always, you know, those who are like the addiction to masturbation or like even I think for me it's linked to the quick fix. It's linked to the quick fix, and we know that anything that is worth doing, it takes work, it takes energy and effort to release that, you know what I'm saying, dopamine levels throughout the body and serotonin and things like that. Like you have to work for it, but it's like almost like the masturbation thing is a quick fix or the instant gratification or whatever. People are addicted to that, and that goes to food, like you were saying. It's linked together. The sexual energy, you know, the food, the entertainment, the drugs, the alcohol, you know what I'm saying? All that stuff just linked together to this instant gratification.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's kind of a paradox because with that level of consciousness, it probably would be healthier for them to release. You see? That's why you can't just off rip say things are better and healthier for someone. You can't, you know, just like saying, oh, just go on all fruits. That person may not be ready for that type of shit, and it may not even help them out.
Now, what about meat in that discussion too? Because there's a lot of different things that out there now. The more study you do about, there's different blood types that require different vitamins, nutrients, and they're saying there's certain blood types that require meat protein and the vitamins that come from meat. What do you think about that?
You know, well, I see that from my standpoint now. I know that there is a Rh negative blood. There's a Neanderthal type mix, right? So if there's a pure white, person, then they may get something more from it. If you black, you shouldn't period be eating meat. You see? Now, a pure bread, I mean like purely bread, then, you know, you probably could get away with that. But what they did prove is that scientists tell you that the best diet is the starvation diet, the one that eats less. You see, I did see this guy that eats, it's a white guy. He eats raw meat. That's all. He just decided he just eats raw meat. And he said this is the best he ever felt. And, you know, and people could be looking at him like, oh, that's nasty and shit like that. But a lot of vegans addicted to gluten and grains. So it's like, you know, a vegan, it's so much addictive stuff there that, I mean, we could play this diet wars all day.
Yeah.
But the purpose is to allow for blood flow, allow for lymphatic flow, for chi flow. And a man that learns his sexual energy, learns how the real food is within the gonads. You can't, the B12, the zinc, when you learn how to loop it and loop keep the energy moving up and down, when you learn that and keep it, it perfects it, it refines it.
Now, what about because I know we're talking about this a lot, but this is really interesting. So there's like sects of like the Rosicrucians and different occultists who would practice a form of magic. I guess all this stuff we're talking about is, to some people, is magic or alchemy. So they raised the semen through sex magic and through masturbation themselves, but they cut it off right at the moment where they're going to ejaculate, when they're going to finish. Wow. They cut it off, and supposedly once that energy's raised and you can feel it, they can use that energy for manifestation, to contacting you know what I'm saying, entities on the other side. There's a lot of different weird notions about that. Is that unhealthy to raise it to the point of and you know, we get blue balls and all that kind of stuff comes with it, but what is your study on that?
I actually just did that yesterday, actually. I stimulated myself, cut it off right at the point. Then I went out in the sun and I cultivated. But I practice embryonic breathing first, you see. So I practice the proper breath work. And what I did was right at the cutoff point, I drew in the breath, but I was doing it while I was stimulating myself. And you could feel, you know, and like kind of the charge for a second. Now, if you do it for too long, you know, it's kind of a thing where I was stimulating myself and I might have done it too long and I kind of felt a little tired. And then what happens is it just will come out and you fucking piss. You know what I mean? Because it could just sit there.
Yeah.
Right. So there's kind of where you gain this intuition. There's really not a book. You could read a book, but the book's still going to be from him, right? But learning your own body comes from practice. So that you gain an intuitive quality where you could just stimulate yourself quickly, right? And then it's best to, when you're doing that, you want to sit on a chair where you're not like, your balls are hanging, you know? It's not like you ain't wearing tight briefs or anything like that, or you're standing up where it's hanging and, you know, some air and you know, it's not like obstructed. So even that can cause problems if you try to do it kind of sitting. And then again, if your spine ain't straight, okay? If you got bad posture, that could be in crooked practice as well, you see? So the proper posture, allowing for the gonads to hang, you see? And then, you know, learning how keep the tongue at the roof of the mouth, draw in the breath slowly into the lower dantian, into the PC muscle, you know, and then you practice the embryonic breathing. You do feel, and again, it's real. It's absolutely real because you feel the cosmic energy all over your body. You feel the tingling. You feel, when I breathe, I literally feel the pulsation at my hands and head, and it's like a wave moving like this. When I draw, and it could be, and it's light. It's not breath of fire. It's not Wim Hof. It's not none of that. It is very light breathing. That's what lower dantian embryonic breathing is. This is why some yogis would put a feather to their mouth, because when they exhale, they want to make sure they don't move that fucking feather. That's how light the breathing is, but it's powerful because how you learn to contract the internal world. And the reason it's called embryonic breathing is because this is how you breathe when you was in your mother's womb, because you were fed through the navel. You see, this is how you brought it up. This is how you circulated and fed yourself with the amniotic fluid with your mother. You see, so it's going back to that practice because you still have an umbilical cord. It's like a silver, like tether, right? They say your soul is like, you know, tethered to the body, but there's like a etheric, there's other bodies that you have that you could fuel up, and you could fuel up. You have a conglomerate of bodies, but you really got to learn how to fuel them up starting here. Why can't you access them? It's because all your life you just waste fuel. You just waste it, so you don't access into other paradigms, okay? Into other parts of you. Why? Because I started to experience the lucid dreaming, where I would talk to, I even got books from in lucid dreaming, where I would speak to I consider almost like an elder, an advanced soul. You could say it's an advanced and alien. It looked like it manifests as a person. I don't know. That's what it manifested to me. But it told me, for example, in one lucid dream, to research programmology. It said, okay, you think you smart and deep, research programmology. I'm like, programmology? I sound like some computer AI stuff. So anyway, I did some research when I came back from the lucid dream. And it's funny, it connected me to a guy named Waldo Vieira from like the frickin', I don't know, early 1900s or late 1800s. And he had a facility dedicated to lucid dreaming, dedicated to out-of-body experiences. And when I ordered his book, based on this suggestion I got, all right, and it was purely positive, the energy I got from, it's happened to me quite amount of times. It's a little sketchy if the entity asks, okay, well, if you want this, you got to do this. If it's freely given, that's a good thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's freely given. And Waldo Vieira, going back to the programmology, I ordered a book, and on front of the book, it said existential programmology. And then he talked about how with incarnations, and the goal of each incarnation is to become intruder-free. And I'm like, intruder-free? Then started to talk about there's certain thoughts that you carry with you, certain traumas that are given to you, not even yours, If your father's alcoholic or addicted to sweets, more than likely that gene could resurface in you, and you know what I mean? But it's the cards you've been dealt with. So a lot of the stuff you trying to get over ain't even yours.
Yeah.
It's just the cards you've been dealt with in the game of life.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot about that. Generational curses, as the Bible calls it.
Right, exactly. And, and it's kind of like a cosmic game, so you trying to, learn yourself again. But in order to overcome this, it's not through thoughts. It's through learning how to conserve energy that's already given to you by the universe. You're given unlimited amounts of cosmic energy anyway. We just have to learn how to not waste it. This is not a matter of being scarce. So, but we believe it's scarce because if someone that every time I give you money and you spend it, I'm your parent, you keep coming back to me like, damn, I'm broke.
Good.
So when you look at our cosmic parents, our ancient progenitors, right? I don't know, you could call them whatever. It's not the Anunnaki.
I mean, some people may just say God, right? It's kind of the same thing.
Right. Well, God is the absolute. I'm talking about the scientists and engineers that engineered the planet and the human species. That whole bullshit about planet Earth formed from the stars and the money. There were scientists.
And you believe? So I know you mentioned the Anunnaki and stuff like that, and we're talking about the progenitors. Are they good guys or bad guys? Slave race? Leave us here to figure it out ourselves. Because there's a lot of people who believe that, but then they say, yeah, you were created by the gods, but they made you to mine gold. They want the gold here on the earth. You know what I'm saying? All this kind of weird stuff. They kind of throw people off. I'm with Jordan Maxwell. I'm with Michael Heiser, but understanding the Elohim. You know what I'm saying? The El, the 1, 2. I think they have our best interest in mind if we connect, and they want us to reach these levels of ascension and know who we are. Versus you're put here to mine gold and be oil for their machine. Now, our leaders, on the other hand, the serpent seed, if you will, I think that they're the bad guys, right? The ones who are running the show, who's feeding us McDonald's and say, hey, nothing's going to happen, eat it, and all this kind of like, really? So, I mean, what about the whole slave race with the creator thing? Okay. Are we, so the ones who are watching over us, are they good or bad?
Okay. So it's funny because you got so many like different beings. You got some that's in towards us. You got some that do assist. Then you got others that just look at us as like, yeah, we can use them as energy sources. And, like when you look at the reptilian agenda and the Archons. But now this is where the story gets now. This is what I understand. Okay. So the Anunnaki are the fake ones. They're the fake creators, but you do have a group of beings called the Nomos. You see? the nomos could represent the Elohim. You know, we just speculating here, but we were not created by the Anunnaki. They met us here, you see. But when you look at Genesis 2, this represents a different breed of humans. They met beings here already, you see. And if you look up on Google, I don't know if they wiped, Google kind of cleaning up on Tor browser, but type in the central race. It's interesting, the central race, and they call them the wingmakers. These are highly intelligent geneticists, and what they do is, I don't know if you ever heard of the ancient Egyptians called it the Rakem. Okay, the Rakem was another name for the central sun, the spiritual sun, kind of the Dath, right? The portal or the biggest sun in this hologram, and from that central sun is what feeds chi and energy into all of the superstructures and galaxies. Now, this central sun is not directly in the center, but if you even look into Hinduism about the yugas, the 4 yugas, it's based on this big ecliptic orbit every 26,000 years, approximately, around this big, massive fucking sun. Okay? Now, on the central sun, they say this is where we come from this star, the dark star. If you watch, what's the name of it? Doctor Strange. The dark dimension. They say you feed into the dark dimension. You're not supposed to do that. But yet the immortal, the yogi that was teaching him, was tapping into the dark dimension in the movie. The dark dimension represents the dark star. That's where the spiritual energy that nourishes us emanates from. Okay? Now, even the word nutrition, Nut, N-U-T, is an ancient Egyptian god. And this Egyptian goddess, is a cosmic principle of force that gave energy and nourished our sun. So our sun is being fueled by something. You see? Rakem or Nut, all right, gives energy to Ra in our solar system. You see? That's so the word nutrition, N-U-T, it's no coincidence it started with Nut, because that's the energy that actually gives us nourishment. It's in the air, the subtle elements, you see? And the more you have of it, the healthier you are. That's why a yogi that don't necessarily eat or drink, but know these cultivation practices, some immortals, they could live for what the body was designed to live for, as long as you wanted it to. Yeah. So I'm bringing this up for a reason. So with this central race, they're the most ancient beings in the galaxy come from there. And they say we come from there too. But in the dark star, what they do is, I want you to think of it as they're almost like luminous light beings, you see, just pure light. And they create planetary systems so souls could have different experiences on Earth, on different planets, on different galaxies. So think about it like they have the soul component, and then they'll create a vessel, and they'll put the soul component, you could call it cerebral spinal fluid, whatever, that's the light condensed. Okay, you could say that's the ethereal light condensed in the vessel. And they'll instill it in the vessel, in the avatar, and this would be known as a soul carrier. And they would allow for these human beings, we are called first order human beings, okay? We are first order entities. That's what occultists call us, all right? First order entities emanate from the first order world, the first manifestation. We have souls, okay? We have a connection. We could connect, all right? So in Genesis 1, when they say the image of the gods, that's us, the soul carriers to have dominion over the earth. They are benevolent more than anything, but it is an experiment though. They do see human beings as some type of product, okay? The few human beings that actually work through the maze and learn the puzzle where the human being is being perfected. I want you to think of it from their standpoint. When you build a planetary system and you put a terrestrial vessel with an extraterrestrial soul, because we extraterrestrials in a light sense, but our bodies are terrestrial, okay? And I'll get to the soul in a minute. But think of it as each planetary system, what is the goal? To perfect and produce a perfect human being, or a perfect, so to say, maybe an energy master, or one to represent that particular galaxy in that particular expression. So they, what they call the central race, you could call them the Elohim. They're the ones that deal with more of the perfecting of the DNA, the nomos. Okay, that's where they say were the ones that created the first order human beings. Now the Anunnaki, this is where it gets a little, they were the ones that they are more second order beings. Okay, they mainly move through not organic technology, but it's like secondary technology. Right? Like AI. You notice everything's about the AI and the synthetic technology. So we have beings that are secondary. They didn't emanate from the first emanation or from the first manifestation. They are like secondary creations. Much like when you have you, then you have a clone. Okay? It looks like you. It's not really you, though. So where we get the term mankind, kind of like a man, but not really, then you have human, okay, animal man, and then you have God man, okay? The ones that, and can human cultivate himself into God man? So to say that we all just are one human race, that ain't true. Because there's different genetic streams and blood types and all of that, and you don't know that they even saying that there's a fucking council of different beings that were involved in producing the human DNA. So I believe Anunnaki, and it's just kind of one side or one phase of the story. But what they do say, and from my research and, from kind of dealing with a few underground yogis and brothers, they were saying, and with this type of history, this meta history, that our ancestors, when the Anunnaki altered the DNA, the melanin, the soul in us, knew that they were not the real creators. You see, they may have altered some things, you see, but they were not the real creators. So they were they more had an agenda, not so much to do with you, but I had to come here, either mine for gold, or I got to build some, So it's just from not so much a good and evil standpoint. It's just they're trying to evolve. And the problem is with these particular second order demons or beings, their evolution is our devolution. But since they're parasites and they siphon off us, they don't have the organs given to us by the gods. They don't have the pineal gland and the certain things so
they lack empathy.
Right. They lack empathy. They lack the solar component within their genes. So their way of having a connection to source is through adrenochrome. That's why the whole child trafficking industry is going on, because they scare children and then they open up their skull right when they kill them, right when they're frightened. And then, they will pour the blood or, extract the adrenochrome out of the adrenal glands.
Have you seen The Dark Crystal?
The Dark Crystal, that's a movie?
Yeah.
I never seen it.
Yeah, it's all about that, man. They had the new one that just came out on Netflix. It's all about that, but it's puppets and creatures that live under the ground and stuff like that. It's really interesting. But yeah, it's about that, the adrenochrome. And I was looking at something. We talking about the semen and things like that, and there was something I covered like 2 years ago. Sandra Bullock had this facial cream, and she's like in her 50s, but she looks like she's 25. And they were asking her about it on Ellen. I don't know if you've seen this, and asking her what facial cream she uses. And she didn't want to say, but Ellen was laughing because Ellen was going to out her. No, tell us what you used. It looks so young. She's like, well, it's a cream. What's in the cream? Well, it's nutrients. What kind? Well, it's she said it was foreskins grounded up from babies from like Vietnam and in the Philippines. They ground it up and make a paste out of it and use the stem cells and all that to put on their face to look younger. And they said this on Ellen. Everybody's laughing. Oh my God, you really do that? Oh my God, I would never do that. And it was like joking, like funny, like
what?
Yeah, for real. Yeah, I did a whole commentary on it.
Damn, boy. Hey, I know that blood is
they're like stepping out with it, like kind of flaunt. Even like what was the thing with the Golden Globes? What the comedian that just came out? Did you see that? Somebody give me his name. Ricky Gervais, who just came out on the Golden Globes. He did the opening monologue, which was 2 days ago, and he said, "Hey, all of you guys are going to be in trouble soon. You all guys were taking trips with your buddy Jeffrey Epstein." Like he was like shooting everybody under the bus. Tom Hanks looked like he was scared to death. He was terrified, man, and all of these millionaires who were just sitting at this banquet, and they're like, yeah, they're starting to get you pedophiles. That's coming to he was like calling them out, dude. You haven't seen it? I need to play it, man.
I did not see it. You can send me the link, Right. I ain't been watching too much lately, but it's like, wow, And I even saw Mark Zuckerberg. He made a post about adrenochrome and its benefits and stuff like that. It's crazy because you see in a lot of, I tell you, this is why so much kids and women go missing. It's an industry, and I honestly believe that they even shipping this shit out to even other places, even beyond this realm. You know what I mean? Because
let me play this for you too, just really quick. You should be able to hear this. Let's see. And for those of you who haven't heard it or it's gonna be swept under the rug, let's see. I'm gonna play it right quick. Maybe if they pull this off of YouTube, the audio versions will be up on the podcast. So make sure you check it out. So let's see.
Okay.
You should be able to hear this.
Talking of all you perverts, it was a.
Oh, listen.
Talking of all you perverts, it was a big year. It was a big year for paedophile movies. Surviving R. Kelly, Leaving Neverland, Two Popes. Shut up. I don't care. You could binge watch the entire first season of Afterlife instead of watching this show. That's a show about a man who wants to kill himself because his wife dies of cancer, and it's still more fun than this, okay? Spoiler alert, season 2 is on the way, so in the end, he obviously didn't kill himself, just like Jeffrey Epstein. Shut up. I know he's your friend, but I don't care. Once upon a time in...
Crazy. Calling them out, man.
Wow.
And they're all there. They're all gathered. But they're just kind of like, there's nothing you could do to us anyway, like...
No, it's kind of... You're right, because the powers that be, right, or the powers that were, I should say, they trying to delay an imperative process in the human experience, Like, you could delay the spiritual movement, but you can't, like, stop it. So, the whole day, but the thing is, you see, like, how we talk about organic, like, evolution, right? Or should I say, cultivating energy. And, you do have immortals, okay, that are human beings that don't die. And this is what the Taoism talks about. Even ancient cultures all over talk about human beings that have conquered death. And that's one of the biggest occulted things about certain practices. And think about it now. The older you get, the wiser you're supposed to become in managing energy. You're supposed to get stronger and stronger, okay? Now, picture, okay, there's an immortal who in the Himalayas that they call Babaji, who live over 1,000 years. Can you picture someone living that long and the practices and how they've perfected certain things? So the thing is, these particular energy masters only have a few disciples, if not every decade. And then the disciples then put out like a watered down version for the public and Kriya Yoga. But the goal is to be able to cultivate, and it is a way where you could actually get past death, where death could be a choice or a different, the way we think of as death, there's a way, and this is actually a good topic here. What people don't understand is the soul. Most people we meet don't necessarily have souls. We have soul seeds, you see? And that's where, hence, the elixir kind of is in your gonads, right? Now, think about it like this. What certain ancient energy masters are solar energy masters, they call the soul the primordium. The primordium, if you look it up in the dictionary, it's this is what I teach in my school too. The primordium represents dormant, inactive cells. Okay? Now, there is a higher body inside you that's dormant. That's the soul. Now, the solar body, it takes time you have to grow it. You have to cultivate it. It's just like your physical body, right? Your physical body started off as a baby, a seed. It took time to be strong enough to handle be on its own. All right? Now, with the embryonic breathing and the whole semen retention thing, to an occultist, the highest form of cultivation was to grow an embryo inside you. Notice Buddha has the big belly. The big belly represents a pregnancy that goes on in you. And most people you meet have a spiritual abortion that takes place. You see? So you go through this period where you kind of clean up your body. You learn the microcosmic orbit or any form of meditation that you like and how to move it up and down. But you nurse it. You become a mother. And it doesn't matter if you man or woman. That's why you have certain feminists trying to say, oh, at one point the planet was all woman. But what that really means is matter represents the feminine. Matter, mother, you see? And anything that's masculine is non-physical, you see? Is in the invisible realm. Okay, the intention. So even though we men, we still female because we receptive to cosmic forces. We receptive to the sun. We receptive to weather patterns. You see? So once you learn that you're receptive to these laws, you learn how to obey. And what that does is the law wants to perfect a human being. Okay? The natural world wants a perfect human being. The real world. The world that we were plugged into, the world we try to create from our little minds and stuff, you know, that if you don't align your mind with the laws, you will start to see your avatar because it's not real, you see. When you start to align yourself with the laws, you start to realize that this suit that was given to us, there's an eternal body in there. And this is not a conspiracy theory because you could be 65 years old and impregnate a 25-year-old, 30-year-old woman. And a whole new body would be cultivated. So there's something inside you that don't age. If that's the case, if you could have a baby coming from you, but we were only taught how to cultivate the seed as an animal. There's something called supersexual, where you cultivate the seed internally, okay? And that takes, they say 10, 15 years, where now you grow the Shen body, the Shen, S-H-E-N, okay? When it comes to the pineal, and you actually cultivated a light body that you could carry into other realms, a vehicle. So the soul, from the ancient progenitors, is an integrative tool, vehicle, much like in the caterpillar. The primordium in the caterpillar is the butterfly. So the primordium, the soul in the caterpillar remains dormant until it goes into a cocoon, into a meditative state. Okay? And then it allows for the law of the forces to work on that butterfly. You see, to work on that caterpillar, and it sheds. It dies. So this is death. There's a part of you. You know what I mean? But again, the supersexual, where there's an inner cultivation, a pregnancy that goes on, that can happen in both man and woman.
That's good.
You know?
Going back to living forever and the eternal being thing and trying to master that, there's interestingly enough, in Christianity, there's a sect of people who are embracing that, of like, Jesus did it, Enoch did it, you know what I'm saying? And so this was like eternal life is that they didn't die. They didn't taste death. They ascended, right? Even with their bodies. And so Jesus was one who learned how to do that or became that. And so there's a lot of people entertaining these thoughts even within the confines of Christianity now. So it's really interesting. It's a growing topic, belief. Hearing a lot of people talk about it. But how to do it, they think it just all comes through the mind. They think, hey, if I don't believe that I'll die, then I won't. And if I confess that I won't, then I won't. They don't know about the, any of this stuff we've been talking about for the last hour and a half. So we're trying to hip them, man. Just give them something. If they pull one thing out of here, man, you know what I'm saying? Of all of this stuff we're talking about, the esoteric anatomy is really what we've been talking about. And so if they can pull any of this stuff, any one thing from it, I think it'll benefit them, right? Start them.
Yeah, it really could be a spark. You know what I mean? Because, you don't have to take everything I say as true. But, we adults, you obviously will go and look into it for yourself. Right?
Yeah, test all things, for sure.
Test it out. But essentially, I know that there are people that say, okay, this is my, this is an opinion. This is the way. This is the truth, that you are a fascinating, a being that goes beyond the realm of what we ever been told. But understand this, and this is probably really an important thing. I want you to think about, now, if you read the book, The Autobiography of a Yogi, this disciple met a yogi that had two different bodies, okay? And one that could manifest himself and stuff like that, into any form. Now, you would think, off rip, this is some supernatural or alien or someone that's powerful. Understand this. The number one tool of oppression they have given to us was to accept the death culture, to accept the addiction and to keep the cell confounded into the third dimension. Imagine what they call immortality, or these energy masters, comes from practice and skill over time. When, imagine again, someone that lived for thousands of years, what level of chi energy could they have cultivated? Think about it. Could they cultivate enough to build a planet? Could they cultivate enough to create any form at will? You see, but it starts now, in the moment. If you never make any type of habit or practice in the now, beloved, it will never happen. It will always be some fake dream
outside of yourself
that you read in a book. This is not thoughts. You cannot be in the world of thought, because this symbolism, we know it didn't really come from a good place. You see, since the English language is kind of low vibration. When you walk out in the sun, automatically, boom, pineal secrete serotonin. That's not from you thinking. All this stuff don't come from thinking. So it's not from thought. It's from a knower. It's from the ancestral you. There's many different personalities of you that you created. But there's an ancient, eternal, ancestral you that has to clean up this mess you created into your aura. Kick out the energies that you don't want in you, in your body. And say, look, tell these parasites or these addictive qualities, look, I have somewhere I have to go. Either you transmutate and change or get the fuck out. You see? So the main thing is knowing in the now. It's in what you do. It's in consistency and persistence. Don't take no one word for it. It has to be a first-hand experience. That's where people got to go, not in a vicarious experience. And that's where they want to keep us. That's why they give us Jesus. That's why they give us even an apple. They say, oh, well, this apple sustains you. This meat sustains you. But it's the ethers that sustain you. That's why it says, do not have no other gods before me. It's only one thing. What sustains you is your God. You out in the wilderness and you seeking for that particular substance, regardless if you say, I believe in Jesus, I believe in Yahweh, guess what? If you need that substance to keep this continuum, at that moment, you are subservient to that. And you're not serving the original intention.
What if that is like what if that is maybe an, let's see, like if you want to call it an adaptation or an avatar or just like an expression that it's like a portal that goes back to the hidden sun, right? Like Jesus represents purity. So it's like a manifestation of a bunch of these other things that we're talking about. Ascension, you know what I'm saying? Retention, all of these principles and things. So some of it is kind of like in a way for the person who is doing the inner work, not on the esoteric religion, come to church and Sunday school, like it's those who are really doing or trying the process, and they're in Christianity or they're reading the Bible, and it is helping them to become more spiritual. It is they are returning to like the awe and wonder of creation and things like that. They're getting little inklings of the sun. The Lord is a sun and shield. Yes, our God is a consuming fire. And then they gaze at the sun and they feel this connection to eternity. They look at the stars, right? So there's some like an expression that goes back to a deeper truth. That's my story, right? And it helps me to look more into what you're saying. You got to kind of pick your path. You got to enter in through some type of, modality, whether it's Hinduism, spirituality, the New Age, Christianity, but it kind of transcends your religion at some place you have to kind of move past and kind of take the walk with the leaders up the mountain. But I really feel like for those who will be like sun gazing or stargazing, and it just connects them to this ancient creation. We call them angels. We don't call them, Elohim. Some people just say angels, even though that word just means messenger, right? But it's kind of the same essence. Do you see that connection at all? Because I do see like an awakening within Christianity or all religions, really, to this inner essence of returning to the ancient path, and they're open. We got a lot of Christians listening to this podcast right now, and they're still listening. We've maintained a lot of listeners, and we're almost 2 hours in, so they are interested. So I feel like there's something there that they're able to resonate with, even though the terminology may be different. They don't quite understand it. There's a piece of something there, Right.
It's. If you could look at it more as the truth, more than wordplay, more than you putting sentences together and reading it in a book, the truth is ultimately a state of being. You see, you become that. And not until you, and again, what is that? Like, what do we mean by that, right? It could be to someone else. It could be as simple as just being a better human being. I have more. Not everyone. I'm going to be this immortal God. For sure. I'm going to be, But that's the thing. Not until you experience it, it's not real to you per se, and that's where you have to move from. And if you look up to Jesus, you look up to purity. That's not a bad thing. Purity is the new high. You see? Because we done dive so deep into bullshit. Like we only got one way to go is up.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's like there is a connection, and that's how we get into arguments, because we believe we arguing. But if you really dissect the wordplay, we all really saying the same things, We really saying the same thing. Even
if it's just a portion of it, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's a beautiful portion. It's a good portion, you know what I'm saying? But it's just a portion.
And I could tell everyone in here, please, don't hold on to one fraction of the knowledge. Always seek to gain a holistic understanding. Like, don't stop. There's no end. Like, it's life in itself will always be incomplete. Notice it's inner, wow. It's incomplete. When you completed assignments, it is dead. And again, we already was in perfection. Think about it. If you live in perfection forever, it could almost kind of be a prison. Now, the minute peace is disturbed is when you recognize it. Whew, man, we had it good. We had it really good then. You know what I mean? So sure. You could look at even evil has a metaphysical side to it, yep. Or has a principle in it as to why God allows it to exist to a certain extent. You know what I mean?
Oh,
not sure. So it could win, Because if you look at it, in the end, right? If you look at even Hinduism in the Satya Yugas, where it's the darker or the dark ages is such a small time compared to the golden age. So what does that mean? In this cosmic game, evil always loses, but it gives good a run for its money. And I love how Alan Watts said that. So, you know, even if you play chess, if you play with someone that always wins, you ain't really want to play. And if you play with someone that you always beat, you lose interest. But if there's some level of uncertainty, it'll keep the game going.
Yeah. And
you
it's
see?
Continuing to go, for sure.
So I only saying that you're never going to just stay in one level of consciousness. Like you know, you're going to fall, you're going to rise, you're going to fall, that's what Jacob's ladder represents. And that's the beauty of it, to keep it moving.
It's good. Talking about our connection with the sun, man, is there any, just kind of, you know, do a quick overview about that again, but is there something where people can like engage that, where they can go out and whether it's meditation, whether it's sun gazing, and feel the energies, where you can literally, you know, people, I'm inside the house a lot. So I really, when I go out and I ground and I'm able to spend some time in the sunlight, you can feel it, right? Is there any types of meditations or experiences that if people go out, they can encounter that and feel it and what it does for the body?
Yeah. You know, that's good you brought that up. You know, I do solar meditations. That's actually where I feel like I get my nutrition from, because that's really what gives me energy. I only eat if I have like a day I'm not doing much. You see, like I'll eat. I eat just about every day, every other day, but I'll eat like when I finish my task for the day. Okay. And I'm just in a chill mode, right? But if I have a lot to do, then I'll eat differently. Now, you can go out in the sun, but there's two different types of people. You have people that say, okay, I'm going to go sunbathe, but they'll lay down. They'll just be on their phone, you know, or they'll be doing something occupying their mind. You still can get vitamin D. You still can get energy. But it is not compared to when you go out and you do that abdominal breathing, that Dantian breathing. You relax the mind, you relax the body. You allow, okay? It's almost like a mental fast. You see? Don't attach to no idea. Just let it flow. And don't stop it. It don't matter. You know, like if you're trying to think, if you meditating, you don't suppress. You let it flow like a river. You see? Meditation is not where you don't think. Meditation is where you allow thinking to happen until it dissipates. You see? So everything about the process is surrendering when it comes to gaining more energy. So when you go out, look up. Now, this is what I do. You have Kundalini yoga. You know, you have Merkaba meditation. You have the pranayama. I do QiGung. Just look up the basics of QiGung. Hey, if you could hit me up, you know what I mean? If you want to learn some practices, I don't know if they could get my contact, or you could just look it up on YouTube. If you don't come to me directly, that's fine, but you could look it up on YouTube and look up embryonic breathing and look up QiGung practices or whatever meditation. Go out there, plant your feet. It's better to plant your feet in the soil, not just like on top of grass. That's fine. But if you could really like kind of dig in and you kind of really dig your feet in the soil, it really feels good because you ground in the energy as well. You know, and any impurities get to kind of ground and leave out, right? So when you go out and you allow, you feel the tingling in the hands. When my sister did it with me for the first time, she finally understood what I meant by cosmic energy, you see? Because, you know, it's just kind of this thing I say. But cosmic energy comes from the sun, from Ra, from the ethers, from the earth. But we get a big portion of it from the sun, right? So when she felt the tingling coming into the hands and the face, it was a stance where her palms were facing the earth. Her hand started to kind of move a bit. That is energy literally sucking in and coming into the body. When you allow and surrender, okay, your knees slightly bent, okay, your feet in line with your waist, your pelvic area, right? And then you do the tree poses. It's almost like you acting like a tree. You're not doing anything, but you are. You're not moving. But internally, you're moving. It's called internal alchemy. So when you surrender and allow, doing that for 1 hour in the sun is another level compared to someone working in the sun in construction, you know, and then they get sunburned, they get too much, or their mind occupied. But don't let thoughts fuck up the flow. You see?
What about in that flow? This is just where my mind's going. What about when you're in that flow and you're sunbathing, you're in a place of meditation, you're acting like the tree, and if you look at a tree when the wind blows, it kind of dances with the wind. Is there a connection there where you kind of doing your movements based upon, like almost like you're dancing with the universal cosmic wind that's blowing? Can you feel that?
Yeah, that's funny you say that. There are movements where there's times where your hand will start to do this, or you may even start to sway. They call it the bamboo, swaying of the bamboo. It's a QiGung stance as well, but you just allow the qi, the cosmic energy, to move you. You're not really doing it yourself.
Yeah.
It's a problem. And think about it. What do you know, really, consciously? But subconsciously, it's like, damn, like I have everything, right? So we have been hoodwinked and tricked into thinking that knowing comes from this symbolic wordplay that's very limiting in understanding. There's not even words for certain cosmic processes. Okay? There's not even words for the most important things that need to be dealt with inside your body, in your life. There's not even words for that. So how do you do it? That's where the surrender come in. Because remember, the ancient language is the atomic language. It's the language of the hydrogen compressed atom. When you look at the periodic table, all of that is different variations of the hydrogen atom. And that is what God, the creator, uses the hydrogen atom to express itself, to create. It's like a paintbrush, you see? So the surrender, you allowing the atomic intelligence and the ethers, the energies, to do its work, what they call in Freemasonry, the great work, the divine work. That's what meditation is. Meditation isn't just this thing where you sit down and be quiet so you could so you could focus and study on books. Meditation is the surrender and the cultivation of the ethers. You see? So, you do sway, you do have movements, but you're not, again, you got to kind of be dedicated to it. You probably ain't gonna, like, I feel it tingling all over my body, upper body. I do Falun Gong as well, which is a practice that was done in China, before the Communist Party started to, like, shut that down. But when you feel the cosmic energy coming into you, you may not get energized for 2 months. It may not be 4 months. It takes time, to be real. It takes dedication and consistency. So where you could charge yourself up, it does take time. And then you could use it for manifestations. You know what I'm saying? But I can be real. It ain't something where you just go and you do for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for anyone out there, you may not feel the benefits right away. May not be for some people, maybe a month. It depends on, to be honest, it depends on the development of your own consciousness. Like, you may have more what they call white matter, less trauma, less things, less obstruction that passed on to you, whereas someone else may have more dark matter, or more, when I say dark matter, I mean like more of a dark energy on them that they have to overcome. Yeah. So they may have to do it for months and months, where someone could do it for a couple of weeks and feel it. I don't know. Only you know. Only you know how to learn your body, Yeah.
So we're mentioning, some of this energy. We're talking about sex magic, sex energy. For me, there's I'm able to kind of break the Bible open and paint and show her like this look at marriage of like this connection that is a sexual union. It's an energetic union. It's even in the physical realm, there's physical implications. There's blood covenants that are made through sex and you know what I'm saying, monogamy and things like that. Very powerful, very sacred, very special. You did a Facebook post a couple weeks ago that went viral, speaking about monogamy and all of the loose people out there, maybe talking about women or whatever. And we're in this feminist phase right now, and pissed a lot of people off. Your post went viral, and I remember seeing that. Talk a little bit about your sexual energy, being protective, holding on to other people's DNA that is inside of you, and you're it's like I don't know if you want to say a second mouth, maybe. You're taking, you know, in their DNA, and it's a part of you. Sex is marriage. Jesus said that one who is joined with a harlot becomes one flesh. You are taking on their flesh, and that is your wife. You can't undo that. People don't know that, and you have all these people around here with many wives, you know, or many concubines or whatever. Talk a little bit about what you meant by that post, and how you know, the sanctity of marriage. You know what I'm saying? The marriage union.
Oh yeah, it's a reason too, because it's absolutely true, and it goes both ways, right? Because that post was geared towards women, right? Now, but an issue, you got a womb, and I tell women, you got to be careful, man. Even more so than men, you have to be careful, because they even did studies that if you watch Maury, right, and you will see that this guy will be like, the child's not mine. It's not mine, but it look exactly like him, right? He's picking up on some energy that was put into that child as not his. If there was another man, or she was cheating on him or whatever, and she was more in love with the other man, okay, and let's say he mixes fluids in her too, now the husband may have impregnated her. You see, but you know, he may have made more of a huge impression. You need to. Sorry, one second. I figured you needed it. All right.
Everything okay?
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Sorry about that. So the guy, let's say she was having relations with two guys. And the husband, let's say that he impregnated her, but she still has the fluid mixed with the other guy. And what happens is the energy signatures in her womb, the germplasm can still alter, okay, to those other energetic signatures. Now, this can seem like pseudoscience, but to some people that aren't familiar with it, okay? But there are studies about this. Like I said, I brought up the book, The Wounded Womb, and I can't remember the other ones off my head, but you know, that's how, understanding that's how serious it can be with, you know, even when it comes to cultivating a child. A child could pick up other traits as well. And it could be from the man too as well, right? So even when you look at chastity, right, why they say lust is an issue. We were bred to have sex more like demons with horns, where we only know how to lose energy with it. Sex through chastity, through love, okay? When you love someone, when you respect someone, I'm not talking about that Hollywood love. I'm talking about when you know that person in your life is another soul and you just want to see them heal. You want to see them live their purpose. Both of y'all have a spiritual connection where you have like a purpose rooted in community, okay? That's how love can be everlasting. And when it's rooted from that type of energy, we could cultivate a genius from that, okay? From chastity, from both of them being celibate. Because there's times where even animals have a mating season, you see? So both times where if we plan this, where, okay, I'm going to be celibate, I'm going to move this energy, I'm going to keep my body clean, at least relatively clean to the best of my ability. And the woman does the same. You could plan it out where a couple months down the line, I didn't ejaculate, and each time it loops, it's refined, okay? Building on more energy. more energy, more solar atoms are built. Okay? And then, so you impregnate her. You could actually incarnate a powerful soul, even an ancestor. You see, a genius. Even the indigo children or whatever, the terms they have for these
seeds.
Babies. You see, star seeds. But you could cultivate. You remember, a child is a cultivation. That's what it all comes. It ain't that you create it. You mixing and playing with the alchemist as with these energies. But if it come from a low energetic standpoint, from a sexual trauma, that's where a lot of our people working from, a sexual trauma. And my heart go out because I personally understand all these movements that started, even LGBT. I understand how it started because gays was getting tortured and jailed everywhere. And you know what I mean? In Africa, getting jailed for life, just being gay. Feminists, when they talk about rape culture, it's a lot of sisters that get raped from their family members, from someone that's close to them that been groped. That's true. But you see the corporations come, just like the hip hop movement, and what do? They fund a bunch of radicals. They fund it and they taint it. Okay?
Yeah.
But all movements started from a good place. All of them. You see? So just going back, when we coming from sexual trauma, and we just cultivating from a lustful standpoint, I cultivate with someone I don't even give a fuck about. I just see as a get off standing point, as a masturbation. That in itself, like, it just peel into my addiction. And I ain't even thinking of the responsibility, because demons cultivate too, but they cultivate improperly. You see? So that's our problem. We cultivate improperly, and that is the root of all evil on earth. That is the root of all evil. The misuse of the sexual energy, lack in the childhood, the children that go through it. You see? So this chastity, if there's anything that could help bring heaven on earth, it would be through that, through proper upbringing. You see? Through self-love. The teaching of the child happens way before the cultivation of the embryo, way before the child even came into play. It was from both parents that have self-knowledge. They're already teaching their children before the child even incarnated. So this shit, you ain't supposed to start this shit the minute you have a child. It's supposed to be from way beyond of that's why, okay, it's better to have children in your 30s or as you start to learn some things of self, you know what I mean? But to say you just want to jump, like you have motherfuckers that have children at like 5, 6, 7. He don't know shit. Barely even got money.
Yeah.
And then the child got to go fend for themselves. All right. Or we got orphanages, and they don't tools that you use for war. Okay. Because that's all this system care for, is just to cultivate more or vessels that we use for their purpose. But for us, we have to see this more as a revolution. What we call purity is not weak. You see? It's not weak. So even from a Christian standpoint, you got to agree with this. You see? That I am a Christian in that sense. Well, look, man, you could say esoteric, but when you look at it, so much wrong happens on earth. There's a book called The Origin of All Wars. And it was just talking strictly about child abuse. Even in Belgium, I can't remember which country, in the time of war, these women would go out and work in the fields, and they would put their babies in a swaddle, right? They would kind of swaddle their baby around in this wrap and just hang their baby on a tree. Hours. Go work, come back, feed the baby, hang the baby again. No love, no nothing, just feed it. And some of the babies died. Their brains didn't develop. So love is a law. It's a nourishment. It's a food. You know what I mean? Even breast milk. If a woman don't breastfeed, he getting the love, the secretions that even scientists of today don't have no idea exists, because it came from you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
what was the Jordan Maxwell? He had a big part in this documentary. It definitely dealt with Jesus and the sun gods and all that kind of stuff. Messed a lot of people up. About 2012 what was that documentary that came out?
Okay, I think I'm
one.
Talking about the sun, the different gods that represent the sun.
Yeah, what was the name of it?
I don't know the name, but I have
something about a ghost. What's something about? It's another word for ghost. What was the
another word for ghost?
That documentary. Somebody help me out. Zeitgeist. Thank you, Irk. The Zeitgeist.
Oh, Zeitgeist. Oh, okay.
So,
yeah, I watched that.
Yeah, so that was a big one. That one dealt with a lot with religion in the first one, but the second one, I think it's Zeitgeist Moving Forward 2, which is really good. Covered a lot about human interaction with babies, with just you know how there's this ward where the premature children, go and hold them and show them love and you know what I'm saying, nourishment by holding them. It was a lot of the info about the children who grew up without fathers and who were never held and never played with their mom and dad and things like that, and just touching them, hugging them, touching your children, and like the energy that's released and what it does for them, and you know what I'm saying, the development process of love, and I'm safe even. It's really deep. So I definitely encourage people to go check that out. The Zeitgeist Part 2, Zeitgeist Moving Forward, covered a lot of stuff in that.
Okay, I never watched that.
Yeah, that's a good one. A lot of people stop with the first one, man, but the second one is deep.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that, man, because it's serious. Even like with when it comes to it's a good book by Herbert Sheldon, I think. Herbert Sheldon. He's a hygienist, a natural hygienist from back in the day, and it's a book called The Hygienic Care of Children. All right, that's a really good book, The Hygienic Care of Children, and even when you look at the enzymic limitations that even young children may have, because they said that you should not feed a baby any type of starch or any anything like that when they don't have teeth, and certain hard foods, because to digest starch you need the enzyme ptyalin, and the parotid glands, you need to really like masticate the starch with saliva in order to get that enzyme going to break down that substance to be digested. And children without teeth don't have that. They're not able to masticate it. So if you give a child mashed potato, even certain things like that seem really like,
mushy.
Yeah, seem like it wouldn't harm. Children mainly are supposed to be on a liquid diet when they have teeth. Breast milk, maybe get them some fruits and stuff like that, but mainly on a liquid diet. And they say you should even nurse a child up to 2-3 years, But this helps with, again, developing, moving the genetics, because our real book is not the Bible. It's not. Our real book is in our genetics, the DNA. The DNA is just a blank slate that's written based on impressions, on environmental adaptation.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
So let's be real. We are the writers. We writing the script.
Yeah.
You see?
So we're talking about our connection with the earth. We're talking about our connection with the sun, things like that. Then you mentioned there's a season for everything. There's a season for animals when they mate, mating season, and even for humans being a part of that mating season process. What is our connection with the stars, and what star system that you're born under, what time of the year it is? There's a lot of stuff with astrology, and they've done a lot of studies on people groups, people who were born, during the same month, and they play out very similar, right? The things that they like, the colors, the type of personality that they have, and there's some truth to this. So what has been your experience on studying our connection with the stars as well?
Okay, well, when you look into tropical astrology, especially like how Santos Bonacci, broke that down, and a few other schools of thought. I've been looking at a lot of people. I can't even remember. It's been like 11 years. But, if you look up this guy, George Washington Carey, it's a pretty good book called Zodiac and the Salts of Salvation.
The salts, yeah.
Yeah, so now the constellations is interesting. The constellations, they say, materialize through the cellular salts, a particular substance or cellular salt in the body. And that's how the programming, or the intention is set. Now, you got some people say we're supposed to be born after 12 months. We had to be around for a full 12-month solar year, and that all of us are prematurely birthed at 9 months. You have people saying that, and they said that because we're born after 9 months, we don't have 3 essential cellular salts for perfect biochemistry and a perfect blood makeup. You see, but the way the constellations affect us is through biochemistry. You even have, like when they talk about Mercury retrograde, there's even certain times where we could even be more acidic. It's more easier for us to be acidic, and only masters could really be out of balanced at all times. So again, there's the zodiac, the animation. Animal is an animation. So this is an animate force, a behavior modification. Once again, Illuminati did not create mind control or none of that stuff or programs and all that. They only mimic in the organic world.
Yeah.
In the organic world, we still had things to overcome. We still had traits to overcome. But what these niggas doing is they amplifying it. They want to amplify your degeneracy. They want to build a matrix where, oh, it's good to do this, it's good to do that, and don't, you know. But the thing is, when you look into like your birth natal chart, it gives you a heads up again on the program that you may have picked up on, especially by having genetics that kind of fell from the God status, right? So we are much more receptive and susceptible, especially being low in energy, having traumas, more susceptible to certain constellations. So again, looking at Mercury retrograde, the new moon, the half moon, the full moon, you see human behavior that's affected. Even when the full moon is out, they say even in the jails, people are more violent. Yeah. You see, the wolf, the werewolf comes out. You see, so again, and I don't know, you even have David Icke trying to say that the moon is an artificial construct and that it's a satellite.
The Death Star.
yeah, and that they using that to cloak themselves and all that. But let's keep that out and just talk with it as a star, right? So you see, again, it's the organic matrix, the programming, and it's like a game. You gotta overcome these certain things that, you know, and that's why you could read a birth natal chart and someone that really kind of could could transcribe. You have people that could transcribe for these stars because these emanations do have a language, you see? And based on when you're born, when that infinitesimal implosion happens, when that embryo and that Big Bang happens and the soul incarnates, the alignment, the vibrational frequency of that DNA is your real name. It has a particular sound to it as well. That's like your social security number making space. It expands. The universe expands for you. But you bring certain qualities with you because you are the personification of these cosmic stars and these cosmic principles. So
all religions believe that, man. That's something that's been lost, you know. The Greeks definitely.
It's a book. It's just something I've been imprinted onto you.
Yeah.
But for example, when you meditate, when you breathe in the ethers, the air, and then it comes in the brain and wakes up the brain, and notice subconscious actions come from breathing. The subconscious mind, the subconscious digestion, all the subconscious actions in the body come from breathing. So there's intelligence in the breath. Okay? There's in the ethers. But you are that intelligence, self-realized, okay? Meaning that, for example, your sensory organs, sight, hearing, smell, taste, these sensory organs are only conscious as themselves. They're only conscious as their function, okay? They're not conscious of themselves. They're only conscious as that particular action and function. You being the spark, the light, you make these forces become conscious of themselves. So it's a war between these forces on who wants the damn light, on who wants to become conscious of itself, holding the throne of the vessel. You see? So, for example, when you look at the tail of the vertebrate, they call that the seat of Satan, because the tail, they glued together, right? It's like 4 of them or 5 like glued together, right? The 4 glued, and that represents the 4 sensory organs, right? So that means like, okay, a lot of your spiritual energy is kind of tailed and entrapped at the seat of Satan. Okay? So as it's pulled and tethered to the earth through the solar plexus, what happens is these sensory organs, which are like archons, they're not intelligent, but they are something that intelligence use as a tool. Okay? The problem is these sensory organs, they do have some type of consciousness, but it's only as the function. So that's why if you eat a stimulant and it tastes really good and it becomes addictive, taste, which is an archon, which is almost like you could consider it almost like a demon, almost in some cases. Taste starts to override the intelligence, and you start to work for taste. You start to work for these particular forces.
Yeah, Oreos.
Like as an animation. Yeah. So these animate forces, they want dominion over the light, which is in your soul, which is, again, getting back to semen retention. They eating that shit right up. They eating it right up, you see? And you could be a representative of that force. And that's what we are. We're representative of that level of consciousness. But you could choose to cultivate to a higher level, to represent another level of consciousness. It's all you, by the way. You are so big, you can't fit yourself into one body. So what happens is, and there's really no such thing as a high and lower self. That shit don't exist. It's what you choose to experience. There's only the absolute. There's only one force. And in your choices, you experience that level of consciousness of that force, or whatever you choose, vibrational frequency, you choose to experience of that particular force. You see? So when you look at astrology, it's like a zoo. It's a zoo, zodiac, zoo animation.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I did a whole show with Jordan Maxwell on that. It's one of my biggest shows, actually. And he broke it down. He's a godfather, man. I love his old stuff. I'll say that, but I still honor and respect what he's done and where he is. And I love that guy, so I got to have him back on, man. Dude, I really enjoyed this conversation, bro, and I know we can just keep going and going and going, man. But
it never ends,
dude. Thanks for hanging out. Somebody, Bob says he has a question about astrology. Ask your question, man, and I'll try to translate it over right quick in these next few minutes. But man, there's just so much stuff that I wanted to get into, man. But I think that we covered enough to.
You make it too long, people may be like, nah, that long as hell.
Well, the thing is, though, you listen to a show like this and you take notes. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
You take a note.
Record?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. They're going to be able to go back to this whenever. But, doing their own knowledge, and there's something that everybody's in different places. So whether it was, the urine therapy, whether it's semen retention, whether it's connecting to the sun, the stars, whatever it is.
We touched a lot, even with like the annunaki and a few things.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a little bit something for somebody said. Okay, so I'm gonna translate this question for you here. Bob wants to know. He says, based on what astrology you use, sidereal or tropical, you will be an entirely different sign. So he's wanting to know, how do you reconcile that, like under the two, I guess, schools of thought, sidereal and tropical, being a different sign. Like one's going to tell you you're this, the other one's going to tell you that. There's a lot of weird information saying that we're not even, like, it's off. But I mean, all you got to do is get a star map and go outside when the sun rises during your birth month to know what sign you are. Like, you can. Well,
he is yourself. Right, because the more accurate way to do it, like what the Chinese, the ancients did, was they did it from when you were conceived. They did like your birthday, not from the day you were born. Wow, okay. Right? The day you were conceived is your true birth date.
So if you wanted to do that knowledge, you would just go back 9 months to your birthday and just give or take that time frame?
Something like that. And I guess if you had more in tune parents, they probably would.
We down here.
No, not on this planet, but it's kind of a responsibility of the parents in a sense, but that's kind of a start, you see. But it is, he is right. And then there's a problem too there where they took the 13th sign out. The 13th sign of the zodiac is off usage. That's how you say it.
Yeah.
You see. And it's again, the 13th sign represents perfection. And I think that's I can't remember the dates. I know it's in December. But for example, you see how you have 12 disciples and then you have Jesus who kind of led the 12 disciples. You see?
He would be them revolving around the sun. I will tell you this, that what I just kind of got into was the fact that they were two up for debate when Judas fell out of the picture. So your 13th comes in through Matthias in the book of Acts. So he was like replaced with that. So there would be 13 there when you do the knowledge on it.
Right.
With him. Yeah, for sure.
Interesting. Yeah, so it's like, and when you look at the 12 zodiacs,
the 12 tribes of Israel, I mean, it's all.
The 12 systems of the human body, the 12 cellular salts. But again, the 12 cellular salts, what they say is when it's in a good proportion, right? I guess if you food free, if you mainly live off the ethers, the body knows how to produce it. You stimulate it. The production of the 12 cellular salts is a perfect body. And that's the 13th, the one that leads the signs. That's why Jesus leading the disciples. You know what I mean? It's a connection to the zodiac, it's a connection to the 12 systems of the body, but it's all cosmic principles of what's going on within you.
And I know you. We just kind of mentioned the salt. Santos Bonacci's got a lot of stuff on this, but and we didn't really go into detail. But you're under the school of thought as well with the salts coming into play. Is like finding out what salt correlates with your astrological salt chart and get that salt right. There's Santos Bonacci has a lot of different teachings on that. Is that what you're kind of referring to? Because we didn't really explain it at all.
Yeah, well, the yogi that the breatharian yogi put me on. I'm from the Bahamas, so like he's on the ground. He did bring up about certain things that could stimulate the body to produce the 3 salts or whatever. But it's not a topic that I really studied like heavy because I'm more focused on kind of getting myself to a certain place, and then I could look more into it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the type that, okay, I'm going to apply this shit, and then I can make it work and then read more and perfect. You know what I mean? So, but that is my understanding that salts, remember the salts also help to retain fluids in water. So there is a certain level of fluids that's retained when you have these salts in the right proportion. You know what I mean? But they're not, of course, like the salts we thinking, obviously. When we say salts, we're meaning a particular behavior or cosmic process. Okay? It's a process. It's a manifestation, an intention. Not so much just this thing you sprinkle, you know what I mean, in the body. And no. Mm-mm. So
that's not related?
Huh?
So you don't think that's related with the different salts?
I think that, no, when the salts that you're talking about, what it does, it stimulates a process in the body.
Okay.
But it doesn't, it's not something that you keep taking as a supplement. You may have to keep taking it if you have bad habits, but if you're someone that cultivates, right? Like some of the yogis or whatever, the goal is to get the body to create it.
Yeah.
The salts stimulate the body to create it. It's like if you take ecstasy, right? If you take ecstasy, it stimulates the body to secrete dopamine and serotonin. Now here comes the problem. When you become addicted to ecstasy, the body gets lazy. And it says, you know what? I ain't even gonna fire these neurons.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of people who we even, whether it's ecstasy, I've never taken ecstasy, but I have some friends who were pretty much addicted, and they feel amazing. They're loved. There's a loving energy. They're dancing. Yeah. Everyone's kissing and hugging them. But then the next day, they feel like hell. They feel like because their body is not. They've wasted their body's natural production of that dopamine and serotonin levels, and so it's off. They haven't done the inner work. The diet's off. There's no meditation. There's no time in the sun. They're not doing this stuff to kind of maintain that spiritual balance, and it's off. And so, like, I know early on, like, finding like friends who were doing like a lot of crystal meth and stuff like that, or smoking crack or whatever, and they would get those instant. We're going back to the instant gratification. It burns them out. They like, I know dudes, you tell them to smile for a picture, they don't know how big. Like hey, smile, and the brain is like, smile, and it's the bigger, and oh, that's too big, bro. Like, for real, it's kind of weird. I feel bad, but they've smoked up their brains, and their body doesn't really, like, they don't know when to be happy. They don't know when to be sad. You know what I'm saying? Because they burnt it up. And but even, I think there's hope for those people, though. But, like, if they would take this information, if they would take this knowledge and do the work, I think that, I think that all things can be made new, you know?
And food addict, like, if you believe you got to keep taking magnesium, you impede the body's process to create it. That's why we need to eat, right? But the problem is, we turn off processes in the body, and the body gets lazy. The body's like, I ain't gonna create no damn minerals because you can eat anyway.
Exactly.
You see? So, and then the cancer cells have a low enzymic activity, and cancer cells cannot create minerals, so you won't be sustained by the ethers. So what they do is they crave addictions. So cancer cells need to be stimulated to produce. You see? So humanity right now is in a place where we stimulant junkies. We all drug addicts, and we have to face that. That's if there's anyone that people could understand, no matter what it is, if you're addicted to anything, we are all stimulant junkies. And
working, there's a lot of people addicted to work, man, you know?
Yeah, oh, my Lord. At work, Instagram, you know, like just so many forms. And I'm not saying you don't have an enjoyment, but it's just where, you know, if you don't quiet the mind, the body, and soul, you know, get into meditation to remember what really roots you and sustains you, and not all you doing is having an experience, you know? So, yeah, this is good. This been my favorite interview.
Dude, that's okay. I've had three people say that within the last week, so I appreciate that. That means a lot.
Yeah, no, it's good, bro. You ask good questions and stuff like that, and, you know, we go back and forth really well. And it's like, you know, notice we ain't stopped talking. It's been, you know, I don't know how long I don't even know how long it's been.
2.5 hours. People in the chat, they want to know about your YouTube channel, where they can find out more about your stuff. I like watching your stuff on Facebook. There's a lot of the videos you out there doing QiGung and all that stuff, and dropping knowledge and wisdom. So
tell them that they can find me on Facebook or Instagram. I don't have a lot on YouTube. I honestly don't have a lot of content out there. I make posts on Facebook, you know, but I do have my semester for my school is opening up mid-January. I do have 2 enrollments so far. This is actually a 3rd semester. The first 2 have been really successful. And what it is, it's 6 sessions, and it's just an energy cultivation and cellular transmutation course where we cover what colloidal biology, from string theory down to the biophotonic energy, and how it eventually condenses into the cell that you see. So we actually talk about the precipitation of the invisible world into the physical realm, but we talk about the process of how the cell is supposed to act, and how the true cell is self-sustained. It doesn't really need to eat that much. And we talk about the cell that changes into what look a little more demonic or parasitic, but they both the same energy. It's just you are the alchemist that behavior or did the behavior modification. So everything about the course is in teaching you that it's really just all on you. This ain't about no one out to get you. This ain't some conspiracy theorist course, although I do talk about some of that stuff.
I know you started off at the beginning talking about targeted individuals, and, you know, Santos Bonacci went through a big, crazy thing. And you know what? And even thinking about that messes with my head sometimes. I've been having these little rashes pop up and getting itching just out of nowhere. I think it might be the soap that I'm using and stuff like that. But I'm thinking of Santos Bonacci and the targeted individuals, and I gotta no, get that shit out of my head. Like that, ain't nobody, studying me.
That's when I was talking about my
Morgellons and stuff.
Passed away 2 years ago from the military, who told me that stuff about the military technology. That's just what sparked me on the journey. For sure.
Oh man, I think the majority of us got into, and I have a lot of people who are like activists in like the political arena, marching and holding flags and all that kind of stuff, and demanding rights and voting for change. But then they find out like these marches ain't getting us nowhere. We're building a community of like-minded people, but it moves of instead of shaking your fist at the government and get these laws passed, they do their own inner work, and it turns into a spiritual movement. All of them make that process. For me, it was like that, Fahrenheit 9/11 and Michael Moore documentaries that really opened me up to some of the stuff with the politics. And Jordan Maxwell, huge proponent. But then Jordan Maxwell would sprinkle just a little bit of spirituality in there, enough to make me ask questions about the aliens and about God.
I went months only listening to Jordan Maxwell. That's all I did. And then what I did was I'll watch someone for a long time, and when I get the gist of what they're saying, then I'll move on to someone else. Then Mark Pazio, then I'll watch some of Mark Pazio, and then I'll watch some of him, and then it's then you develop through your experience, But the goal is self-empowerment, not to live in fear.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You don't want to. We create the government. If no one get up and go to work, if no one decides to eat, there's no system. There's no system. There's only our participation in it. So we choose to participate in it. Therefore, it exists. You see? So we the generators that fuel it. So the government, we create the government. The Vatican could feel like they have some power, but they broke. They broke. That's why they print in fiat money, and that's why they write the certificate, and they use our coercive force. They trick our mothers into signing a contract, and then they get to print. Governments get to print money because I exist. So I'm the money.
What? Okay, let's end with this, because I had something prepared that I wanted to kind of go into a little bit. Are you big into music? Are you big into hip hop and culture and stuff?
My sister. My girlfriend is a musician. You see, I listen to a lot of music, like on and off, but
did you listen to 3 6 Mafia at all?
Oh, come on, dude. Gangster. Yeah, I'm from the Bahamas. All of 50 Cent, 3 6 Mafia.
For sure. All right, so there was something I wanted to address here, and I've got this stuff pulled up. It's another clip that I wanted to play. But there was and this kind of gets into the money system of being for us to be in this capitalistic system of changing energy for finances, and money is not paper, right? Money is and you know what I'm saying, wealth has nothing to do with currency, right? So but just understanding that relationship when it with the universal force and give and take and all that kind of stuff, right? There was a tweet by Juicy J, and I'm going to share this on the screen here for people to see. Juicy J from 3 6 Mafia, who left 3 6 Mafia for some time and went on to do his own thing and work with Justin Bieber and work with some of the A-list, you know what I'm saying, entertainers. So he did that, and it kind of caused a little spill with 3 6 Mafia, but they kept doing their thing. They just got back together doing a couple shows. Juicy J tweeted, because this went viral. He said, "If I inspired anybody to do drugs, I apologize." And this was after doing like a bunch of tweets. This was done, I'm looking at, it was at 2 a.m., 2:30 a.m. So this is on either a late night drug binge or just staying up late, whatever it is. If I inspired anybody to do drugs, I apologize. The post went viral because you have a group of rappers who have made their living and built their empire off of the exaltation of drugs, making it look cool to do drugs and get trippy Maine, and they selling T-shirts and talking about sipping on the scissor, mixing codeine and Jolly Ranchers and all that kind of stuff, and syrup or whatever. And there's some of the responses here, and people are saying, "Bro, but you told me to stay trippy, man. Weed, pills in the drink. That's my trippy kid." They're quoting their drug lyrics back to him. So I thought that was that was awesome that, you know, he had this kind of, whether you want to say a come to Jesus moment or just this moment. Look, man, there's people addicted and these drug rappers and kids are ODing out here now. Like these beautiful minds, bro. XXXTentacion, dude, that dude was deep, bro. He was a beautiful soul that we lost early. You know, and there was drugs involved in it, and the plotting for his murder, and just so many of them. Little Peep, this next generation coming up. But so I thought that was beautiful that Juicy J said that. But I want to transition to the other side. There's this clip here from DJ Paul, which is he makes the beats and writes a lot of the choruses for 3 6 Mafia. This was on TMZ. So they asked DJ Paul about Juicy J's tweet. And I just want to play this for you if you haven't heard it and just kind of give your take on it, and we'll talk about that too. Okay. So check this out. This is on TMZ.
Juicy J tweeted out 2 days ago or so that you guys are going on tour in 2020.
Yeah, we are. We did a couple of shows in 2019, you know, just a couple of warm-ups in the home, Memphis, and basically what used to be our second home, Atlanta, because everybody thought we was from Atlanta. Right. So we got those out the way, and now we just finna give it to the rest of the world.
Juicy J also said he apologized for having like drug references in his music, and he apologized if anyone's, you know, taken drugs because of a song he, you know, rapped on.
Yeah.
Like, is that going to affect the tour at all? Like because so much of your music is about drugs, and now he's saying I'm sorry, you know, in response to Juice WRLD and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. No, I mean, you know, people gonna do what they want to do regardless, you know. So it's good he did that, and you know, he felt that's what he felt he needed to do, and you know, I kind of do it as well, but I kind of been doing it for years and years. Like it's old interviews with me popping up all over the place, kind of talking about that. It's all about moderation and whatever you do. But if you can stay off drugs, that's totally the best thing in the world to do. But,
even though the songs say, you know, take as many drugs, like, you know, it's glorifying them like in excess.
Yeah, but it's the same thing. You're not supposed to do what you hear in the song.
But kids think you are. Kids are like, you know, some of them are dumb. They take all these drugs, and because they hear their favorite rappers doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I see my favorite actor, Robert De Niro, killing people on movies all the time. I'm not going to go do it because he's doing it.
Hey, facts, bro. Take a sip. That was a good point, bro.
It's all entertainment. And plus, when we did it, drugs was lighter. They wasn't as bad. Like, when we did drugs, you had to go to a real drug dealer.
Right.
These days, anybody can make drugs. I can only talk about what I know, what I've been through.
Yeah.
And things that I did. You know, I can't sit up. What I'm supposed to talk about now? Science books? I can only talk about, you know, street stuff, but that's all I know. That's what I come from.
Okay. There's a couple different aspects to that. I want to just get your opinion on the aspect of this drug culture, and even though they may not do as much drugs and continuing to make money off of, you know, the exploitation of drugs and making it look cool and stuff like that. He said, and then he says something that really got me, because I like DJ Paul. I love listening to his interviews. He's a funny guy. He's successful. He's moved on. They do the music. They make a lot of money off the music, but that's probably not his biggest source of income right now. He's really big into selling land and selling houses and flipping houses, like legal ways for young people, entrepreneurs, to make money the legal way without selling dope, without getting addicted to drugs and all of this kind of stuff with the culture. But he laughed and scoffed at it. Like, what I'm going to do? Make music about, you know, science books or spirituality or quantum physics? Yeah, I think you should. I think you should do songs telling people how to make money the legal way, right? Hey, if I'm doing it, let me pay it forward. Let me show you guys how to get it. Y'all go out and get it. But it's almost like this weird thing that is holding back, like keeping it for himself. What did you get from that clip, man?
Yeah, he talking like, I like how you said, like, he moved on from it, right? And you think that, but it's still have an impact. And, you know, let me start with me, because being from the Bahamas, when 50 Cent came out with Get Rich or Die Trying, excuse my language, but every nigga wanted to be a gangster. I talking about, like, the Christian Council in the Bahamas literally banned BET after that. because of the behavior modification that took place. We even had some young dudes that created a crew called G-Unit sneakers. You know what I mean? I was even in a clique Dipset. You know, and it's like, we ain't even recreating. We just mimicking. You know, that's the problem. It's not entertainment, man. It's not. It seemed like that from his standpoint. He see it as a business transaction. But from a child listening to it, or from you kind of growing up, we don't have parents like that. We have people that take care of us and feed us. But we don't have parents that put us in no rites of passage and how to teach us how to be men, how to be women, teach us finances. You know what I mean? We just mainly thinking of popularity. And that's where the problem comes in. It makes these music has a sense of popularity attached to it. And peer pressure, popularity, all those things are big to you when you're 15, when you're 14, you're 13, you know, and it does do a behavior modification. So the thing is, I understand where he's coming from in this standpoint that, I watch Robert De Niro, I'm not going to kill someone. But, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, the TV and those songs, there is some type of subliminal thing going on as well, even if you play some of it backwards, you know, because remember, those who gave us this technology understand it on many other levels, okay? Like, who put out this iPhone, whoever reverse engineered this iPhone, they know what an iPhone is. We don't know what an iPhone is, not per se. They made it user-friendly, but we don't know if this connected to some supercomputer. You don't know. So, you know, I only saying all that is that everything is just to kind of seems like it's just to gear us towards that consumerism or that addictive quality, you see. And again, it keeps us drowned in the sexual energy as well, because, you know, you addicted to pills, you addicted it. A lot of babies was birthed off that too. You know what I mean? So you got to look, we cultivate improperly again. It all comes back to that. It keeps us in the crooked practice, which stirs up demons in us. We create our demons in us, you know. And what he doing is, rap music is not hip hop. You see, rap is not hip hop. Hip hop, the MC was esoteric in nature, representing the four elements: the fire, the air, the water, the earth. You know what I mean? The fire being the MC. You know, he's spitting. You know what I mean? They had literally like it was more analog. You know, where we had instruments. We would play instruments. You know, it wasn't digital. Yeah, analog was more where you interface with the spirit, and it was no coincidence when the government, especially in the black communities and all that, they took out the music intentionally, because when you play the instrument, you brought something that was not of this world. When hip hop, again, we know it was a movement, just like the feminist movement, just like all these movements that then they come and they do the crooked practice. Sex is sacred, crooked practice. Hip hop is sacred. You know, cherishing woman is sacred. You know what I mean? Like, listening to women and their feelings is sacred, but they come and they do the crooked. They want to turn women into men. So just taking that back, you see, it's once again, he does not understand that his God is money. That's the problem. Rap, their God is money. It's not anything to do with a code of ethics.
Yeah, you look at
a lot of these brothers out here that making songs back in Brooklyn back in the day, they would have booed them off the stage.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I remember when that happened, there was some times too where like and this is just here, I don't know if you know, but there's a rapper named Big Crit from Mississippi who went up to New York, and he Big Crit, and I like Big Crit, but he got booed, and I don't think it was a skill wise because he can spit bars. But I think it was a content wise of bringing that kind of thinking or bringing rap to this hip hop thing. And now everybody wants to sound Southern or sound Atlanta, and it's mixture. Yeah. Usually you can tell this East Coast, this West Coast, this New York, this the South, you know, but now it's all like mixed together. And then you got rappers like Future who Percocet, Motley Percocet, he's rapping about drugs. He comes off and says he doesn't even do drugs. He doesn't use the stuff that he's telling your children to rap about. Yeah, you talking about being demonic and being, you know, under the guise of mammon. That's deep, man. And then this guy knowing how to I lost a lot of respect for DJ Paul, man. I've listened to a lot of DJ Paul interviews and stuff, but to hear him say, like, make fun of...
You know how to get money, but where's the substance and character? That's the problem, man. The music ain't helping our youth wanting to cultivate character. You know, the core values. You know, we don't hold no one accountable. Niggas could come in on it and just say what they want. Lil Pump. Like Kanye West, he just was on a song with Lil Pump. Yeah, I'm a sick fuck, I like a quick fuck. And now all of a sudden he's a Christian. You see? So it's like we don't have this like base where now corporations are just raping the rap industry. But what do you say though? You got to see it from their standpoint, because a young dude from the hood, he see it as opportunity.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, this feed a lot of mouths through the hood. So at the same time, it helped to feed a lot of mouths. But the thing is, their God is money. And once you have the money, even if someone that's good at making a video, he could hate the song. But if it pay him well, he ain't in check for no more morality. Like, nigga, I got to pay the rent. So not until we see that. See, this is a problem. Rap turned money into a possession. That's what rappers do. Money is not a possession. Money is a tool. Even when you look at certain brothers that caught up in the gangster program, and you notice how they put out Scarface, they put out a lot of these movies and instill that program in us. You see, when you look at that, the gangster or the thug frequency, the thug program, you look at someone and have a gun, right? This young dude, he see a gun as a possession. Like, oh man, look, I got some power. When a gun is just a tool. It ain't, who gives a shit if you have it? And it's the same with money.
Have you seen have you seen where the word thug comes from?
Where it come from?
I tell you who covered this, and he does a lot of stuff on the rap industry, hip hop a little bit. It's Craig G. Lewis. He's a Christian minister, but he goes in on hip hop. But it comes from. I know
Craig G. Lewis. Right.
He's a little over the top. But it's the word thuggy, which comes from India, and there was a group that called them. It was like a gang. They called themselves the Thuggies, and it says the Thuggy refers to the acts of thugs, an organized gang or professional robbers and murderers. The English language thug traces its roots to the Hindi, which means swindler or deceiver. Thug life. The swindler or deceiver life. Bone thugs, but we're living in harmony. We are murderers, robbers, but we're trying to live in harmony. Related words are the verb thugga, or thunga, from the Sanskrit. And it was they would hang outside of temples and rob people who go in and take their money and kill them. So that's where the word thug comes from. It's deep.
Wow. Yeah, deceiver. Damn right. And you see,
it's like I know that this is going to kill you, but the money is worth it. The exchange for me, what's in it for me is this momentary exchange of money, and I don't care what happens to you or your children. I think we talk about karmic debt, even in this life. Like, you got to repay that stuff back. Even though when you're young, you think you're a child, you think like a child. You know, that's what it is. What it is. You are old man now. You 50-some years old. That don't mean you got wisdom, but you know that what you're doing is wrong because you don't even participate in those acts. Juicy J.
You don't even do it. Yeah. And making so much money from it, man. Making so much. And you got kids them on Percocet now. And it ain't even the fact that they OD. Bro. It ain't even just that they OD. It's the destructive behavior with it. It's in the sex. A lot of sex. You got to think. It's a lot of fucking sex from our youth. From these drugs. And you got to think, a lot of babies coming from that.
Well, yeah, it's changed up. We talked about this the other day. This generation now are having sex before they're kissing. Like, when was your first kiss and scared to kiss? They're having sex before they're kissing now.
Oh, my. I heard that, bro. Man, my girlfriend just told me that about, she's a streamer. She's one of the main streamers on Live Me. It's an app, And she just told me that, man. Like, oh man, like we just
Crazy.
Going lower and lower, and you would cherish a girl. You know what I mean? Like
you have to court them. No, well, there's apps now. The technology's come in and jacked it up. You don't even have to have swag or game. You say, Swipe right, swipe left. That means I want to have sex. Let's line it up. Don't even know your name. And there's songs about this. I know this is crazy. Call Me Maybe. There's a lot of Promiscuous Girl. Look, that song was huge. Promiscuous Girl. Timberland and I forgot the girl's name. She kind of, I don't know if it went viral, but it made headlines because she performed that song and got so much money after promoting being, I think it's Nelly Furtado, one of them. She made all this money after being promiscuous and promoting it to little girls. It's got a good hook, it's good catchy, Timberland's in it. But then afterwards, she's like, she said a statement like, I don't promote promiscuity. It's like, how you gonna perform this song on national television and got everybody dancing and singing it like the Pied Piper? But then I don't promote this. Come on, you just did.
Oh my man! See, that's insanity, man.
Yeah.
Insanity. And then you see they sell an illusion too. When you look at rappers, they have a car, a house, a bunch of women around them. Women don't like them. It's just an image they sell. It ain't their damn car either. And they throw money around. It's an image they sell. And the money becomes a possession. And then when it becomes a possession, you are possessed by that demon. You see, the vast majority of people that are caught up on rap, especially my people too, like, they don't see money as a tool. It's just a tool, That's all. You talking about going to kill someone for this shit, bro? Seriously? If someone owe me money and they don't, I just ain't gonna mess with them no more. They ain't gonna get busy. I'm going to kill you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, but it's. I ain't gonna lie, man. There are some people that say, "Oh, it's not the music; it's the upbringing." No, music helps to amplify that shit. Okay, it's the upbringing, but music helps to amplify that shit. Where even someone with a good upbringing could be swayed. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, it's a topic. I see Tupac tried to bring the hate you give little infants after everyone, but still everyone still wanted that thug frequency. You see? They still want it. And it's a program because it destabilizes the community. And we don't have real men that want to correct the curriculum. Notice when you go in the government schools, no disrespect to women at all. It's mostly women. Okay? It's not a lot of men that willing to step up, teach, and change the curriculum or even create an alternative curriculum in the public system. Because they want to keep only people that only looking for the dollar. They just getting paid for it. Just survival. You know what I mean? So it's it's a huge issue. And money is the biggest religion of them all. It's a tool, but if you really have a thing where you love it, it could really be. If someone has bad habits and they have a lot of money, the money will help them to kill themselves quicker. So yeah, man.
Yeah, it's deep, bro. I'm trying to see if I can find this clip here without. This would definitely get us pulled, so I got to be careful with the music there. But man, the music is a big one. Again, talking about the Pied Piper coming in and controlling the masses with the music. Music is powerful. Music is spiritual. Has the ability to change atmospheres and encourage people. I don't know if you know. I do spiritual hip hop, esoteric hip hop, and try to talk about a lot of the stuff that we're talking about in music. So that's what I do. And so yeah, I would like to hear him do a song about science books and about, you know what I'm saying, do a song about flipping houses and have it go viral. You know what I'm saying? Encouraging people, putting this song in a way that they can digest it,
It ain't no money in that.
Nah, for real, there's not. You gotta like serve the animalistic nature, play to the lower chakras, man, because it's easy. Yeah,
we could change it. It's just, and it's really affecting our youth. Anyone that say it doesn't is full of shit. They full of shit. Off rip.
Adults are so out of touch with the youth now, bro. We don't even know, dude.
Wait, what? They see them as aliens, bro. They scared. The elders, even the Christian elders in Bahamas, they talk about the youth all day, but y'all, where's the disconnection? Y'all brought us here. You know what I mean? And that's why even some recordings I have, I kind of put it out to a lot of Bahamians too. And you know, they didn't have to pay me or nothing because I kind of wanted recordings allow you to be in different places at one time, you know. Yeah. So just to wake up to like, man, it's so much more, you know. And please, we need to stop having these freaking babies with no plan, man.
That was the big, again, going back to your post that was viral, you told people to respect their bodies and be mindful of what you put into your body, and people are bragging about how promiscuous they are, and you caught so much flack for that.
Bro, you know, I got death threats, you know. You know, they was few people message me. They say, okay, this one girl say, police be killing the wrong niggas. And I'm like, God damn, that's some hard shit. I ain't pushed that on nobody. I just tell y'all, like, look, there's some consequence to you thinking you could be promiscuous. You see? This one woman comment on the post like, oh, well, my body count is 64, but my husband still loves me. And I'm like, motherfucker, why are you even making that public? Why even say it? You know what I mean? You think that shit right? But and they were so full of shit. I made one comment. It was over 1,000 hate comments. I couldn't keep up with it. I made one comment. I say, look, all of y'all feminists full of shit. Because why? You wouldn't want your daughter to think that way. You would want your daughter to be better. No,
a lot of them are passing it down, man.
Oh,
even if they don't know it. Let's just say that. But it's definitely getting passed down.
Like, a woman's, you know.
You don't need them, you know, you can get your pleasure, one night stands. Like, it's popular. One night stands. That's weird.
What, Tinder and all them social apps?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, it's
multi-million-dollar companies.
And I tell them, look, I in a monogamous relationship. I'm not doing the shit y'all doing and judging you. I don't have no other woman. And I ain't dissing no one that have another girl. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's your choice and the party agree with it. But it causes destruction when you have a man that feel like he could fuck a bunch of women and play with their emotions, make them feel like they're in relationships, and then she only like 15, 16. This 16, 17-year-old feel like she could enslave a little boy to being in a marriage, you know, when she don't even understand that it ain't that time and place for that. So what does she tell you? As she grow older, oh, boys ain't shit. I've been hurt a lot. You ain't been hurt a lot. You just have the wrong expectations on boys that weren't able to cultivate what a relationship really was. You see? You inflicted that on yourself. And it may not be your fault. It's none, because again, we didn't have the upbringing. But you don't walk around as if, you know, because from 14, you've been trying to be in serious relationships. It's a waste of time. And again, if someone out there was in a relationship with someone from 15 and they're in a good relationship, that's you. But for the majority of people, it's just sex, man. A young boy just sees sex, and then girls starting to be like men, okay? Where now they trying to play sports. You got transgenders now trying to play in the opposite sex sports where it's unfair.
Dominating.
You know, and it's this gender thing is really getting out of hand. Like I say, to any LGBT person in here, I do understand how it started. No disrespect to the ones that really was just looking, okay, stop killing homosexuals, please. That we're people too. But you do not push this on young people. You don't do that.
That's okay? Crazy, bro.
That shit ain't fucking cool, man. It ain't cool. Okay? So at the end of the day, you got to understand that the family unit, the nuclear family unit, remember, heterosexuals are what create homosexuals. Okay? So you could say all of that, but we are the continuum. All right? Any society where homosexuality was rampant, that was the fall. That was the fall of it. And I know
it's coming. It's rising to the top. It's not just homosexuality. I know people get mad because we're talking about sexual deviances or sexual stuff that's going on, but we got to. I mean, we mentioned the Epstein stuff, but this stuff is coming. It's rising to the top. The cream rises, man. There were cultures out there that we venerate that they were known for having little boys with them. Like even your main philosophers that you quote in your universities had little boys hanging with them, and for sex objects to have sex with little boys, and they were known for that. Why do they leave those parts out? You know what I'm saying? And then now we're looking at Hollywood, and we're looking at these leaders where they're getting caught with having islands that you fly to be with children. Or young girls, and even Trump. Well, Harvey liked the young girls. I'm not Harvey. I'm tripping. Jeffrey liked the young ladies. He's partying with them. He's trying to pull himself back. Trump's not a part of it. He's like, hey, I banned him from my parties. Yeah, because he got sloppy with it. You knew he was finna crash out. He's a crash dummy. Trump, he got too comfortable with it.
Whistleblower. He was the whistleblower for them. You know what I mean? Like he walked into that den. And one thing I think, well, I'm not a Trump, whatever, but the executive order he put out against trafficking is the best thing that he has done. There's so much pedophiles going to jail and so much shit, trafficking rings was cracked down under Trump. You know what I mean? So, and you can't deny that he was a whistleblower for that particular thing. Pizzagate, Hillary Clinton, all that stuff that was going on. He was a whistleblower for that. Am I saying I like everything? No. I just able to.
I think it's a cover up, man. I'm telling. Look, it's not me. See, I'm telling on the pedophiles. I'm not one. See, I'm locking them up. And so I think I think they're all in on it. You can't get in unless you in on it.
Question, you think that he just taking the lower level minions and the higher level ups ain't getting touched, eh?
I don't know. I think Jeffrey Epstein, he's a billionaire with an island that he flew presidents to. You know what I'm saying? And Trump's one of them.
He did that to blackmail them because Epstein was a broke ass college kid, and I forget the name of the Jew, the Zionist Jew that he basically gave Epstein $1 billion, made up his whole bullshit about he run a hedge fund. He's a broke motherfucker, man. He was just a Mossad agent. And what they did, they took the leaders to islands and then, they would blackmail them or they'll get some dirt on them,
Well, it comes down to, like, you talking about the worship of money or this one thing that, like, going back to the garden. There's two things that you can have. You eat of this tree, you get life, but you can't have that one. People once you reach a level, you want the one thing that you can't have, and they want it just because you told them that they can't have it. And it's sad. It's kids, bro. It's adrenochrome. It's like this disgusting, like, it's crazy. That's the way, they are, and they do it. And we're starting to see a lot of that stuff come to the forefront. And I'm glad, and whoever exposes it, whatever it takes to expose it, man.
You gotta get rid of this shit. Because you watch Monsters, Inc.
Exactly. Monsters, Inc. What you're seeing is they're going to start telling on each other. Like if I robbed houses when I was a kid. We got in trouble. I told on everybody. That's what they do. My brother, that's how we grew up. They tell on each other. How'd you get out and he didn't get out? Oh, he told on everybody. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of the thing. When you set us up and tell on everybody, we're going to give you a less time. It's a plea bargain, plea deal. Tell us who the drug dealer is and we'll let you go. We want the guy. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's an aspect to that. But go ahead and drop some knowledge on the Monsters, Inc. thing and adrenochrome.
Yeah. Right. And when you say Ted, you mean Trump told on everybody or Jeffrey?
All of them. But I think Trump to clean the name. I mean, come on, Mr. Grab him by the, and all that. Man, he looks at, you talking about looking at people as product and as something different. They don't look at us like they look at each other. Let's get that straight.
No, they're not really. I mean, even if you listen to Ike, they the whole reptilian thing.
Yeah, I'm with that. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Because again, this is a whole different mindset. We ain't talking about good and evil, but it's just
psychopathy.
The way they think. They are like born-bred psychopaths.
Yeah. You
see, and they serve these fucking demons, this demiurge, this archonic-like energy. But again, it ain't. People thinking it's just for them to have sex. They ain't thinking like that. It's literally
an covenants. There's covenants with off-world deities that have given them power and energy and all that stuff. It's the forces of good and evil that are at war.
And they say that they even remember when David Icke was talking about how the hybrids are the ones where these demons or these reptiles could easily possess these particular hybrids because of a particular blood type. That's why they say Obama and George Bush and all them was related, closely related, because when you have that blood type, you easily possess. Like you don't have to go through no ritual. But if you don't, then you have to be put into the masonry or to the ritual where you accept these spirits in. If you have that particular blue blood or that blood type, they could just take over you and possess you. So they use them as some type of suits, you see, and these demons figured out a way how they could stay in this dimension longer and feed. It's just a feeding. They see Earth as a feeding. That's why it's like the adrenochrome is coined by Phil Valentine, is a hyperdimensional crack. It's an addiction. Check it out. When Noah off the ark, right? If you're Christians and you're not going to like this, but, when he cut open the bird and he burnt the bird, right? The smell of the pleasing odor, right? The burning flesh, that pleased the Lord, God, right? Not the real, not the I talking about like the other God, right? The one that feeds on burning flesh or the adrenochrome. That's just an example, right? Even when you look at Abel and Cain and Abel, the older accounts of the story, Cain killed Abel because Abel gave a better offering. And God favored Abel's offering because he basically shed blood and Cain was more of a gardener, you see? So we talk about a particular type of force that feeds on the adrenochrome or the flesh, you see, but it's not, again, all the children that's going missing, all the women going missing, it's an industry and they extracting it and they selling it on the dark web. And, it's a huge industry right now. It's just bigger than some dude in his room just jacking off because he addicted to sex. It's not, that is not why the industry exists, you see. Even when they penetrate a child and put his phallus into the anal, that sends a surge of kundalini as well. It's something about us that they really addicted to. It's something about us. And they do not get it as first-time experience. The spirituality, they get it through us. So, like, we could go out and meditate, feel the chi energy, and our pineals activate. For them to do that, they got to make sure that energy stay down in the lower underworld in us.
Because they'll be judged. When they go out there, they're going to be judged. The angels are going to annihilate them. They can't go out there. They're trapped here. Exactly.
They trapped here, and they like the overlords here, but they want to keep us trapped.
This is their heaven. Yeah, the scriptures tell you that this is their heaven. This is the best they're going to get. Because when the Most High does what He's going to do, they're done. They cease to exist. They're going to be destroyed. They're going to be destroyed by fire. I tell you what, I went to I started going to a church in Louisiana, man, and this was when I was going through some dark witchcraft and performing it myself and got possessed and messed up in the head, man. I went to a church and the pastor came out to my house to pray with me, and he would bring me and my girlfriend back and forth to church, and it's a big church, and he would come get us and bring us to Bible study and stuff. I told this story a bunch, but there was an actual series that was based on a television show called True Detective, but it was based off of this church that I went to. And what ended up happening is we moved away. I moved from Louisiana to Alabama. And then, every couple months I'd go back and visit my family. And when we were there, we would go to the church and say, hey, everybody. They say, hey, Derek, stand up. Look what God's doing in your life. That kind of stuff. And we'd leave and come back when we'd visit and we'd go see the church and stuff. I went back this one particular time, and they had the windows blocked off with aluminum foil so you couldn't see in. And then they had the time scraped off the door. We just drove by there, see what time service was so we can go Sunday morning. And so we couldn't find out what time service was. And we thought it was a little fishy, but we didn't think too much of it. Got in the phone book and tried to call, trying to find the numbers for the church and for the pastor, trying to see what time it was. Somebody answered the phone at some person's house we thought may have been related to the pastor, and they said, we're not affiliated with them. Never call here again. Hung up in our face. We ended up going visit a different church because we couldn't find out what time that one opened. About a year and a half, 2 years later, my mom comes down to visit us and said, y'all hear about that church y'all used to go to? It's not what happened. She said, well, it was all over CNN. So what happened? They got involved with ritual sacrifice. A regular Christian church, Assemblies of God, got involved with ritual sacrifice, and it was leaders in the community, people who were on the police force, the sheriff, teachers, the pastor. They would bring their kids and they would trade their kids out to go up in the youth group, and they would trade each other's kids and have sex with each other's children. And they would perform rituals for Satan in a church. You're talking about, this is even on a low level. Like, this stuff trickles down, whether they're related to some of these hybrid people or whatever the case is, man. But it's demonic, dude. And it's like, it is no respecter of person. Just like when you give yourself over to those lower nature elements that we've been talking about. When you give yourself over to the primal fear, you want what you can't have. I got money. I got power. I got people under me. I got land. I got what can I have? Well, you can't have this. Oh, you want to bet? I can't have what? You gonna tell do you know who I am? You know, and that's just what we're seeing, man.
You right, man. And because it's like a psychopath gene. Like, you know, and that's why, like, even in Bahamas, our passports are sent directly to the Queen. Sent out to London, you know, because they trying to track where that bloodline going. So strategically, if you have that a certain amount in you based on your lineage, they will strategically somehow put you into power. You will think it was based on your own efforts, but you wouldn't realize that, you know, even in the Bahamas, there's certain names. I ain't gonna really talk about it, but there's certain names that you connected to certain families in England as well. And they just strategically just put in the power of the Governor General, you know, they're part of the Masons and stuff like that. So, you know.
I learned that with Bush, just looking at Bush and who he was, and it was his turn. Like, he was born to be that. Like, he had no inkling. He can't rebel. Bro. He was the one, because he's like a clown. He's just like a party animal. Was a coke addict, right? And so, hey, it's your turn. Get your shit together, because you're up next. Don't you make us look like a fool. It's your turn.
And he had multiple personalities too.
Media training. They got to put him through media training. Look, when they ask you these questions, you got to do. And he would, and it still came through his how much of a klutz he was or is. You know what I'm saying? But he was our president because he was born to be that. He was born into the right bloodline, and you know, we had granddaddy set up, father set up. Now it's your turn. This is our legacy. We paid a lot of money for this. We given our soul for this. This is who we are. It's your turn. Don't mess this up. So to think that we have the power to vote these people out of office, it's crazy, man.
Bro, I'm telling you, and they
do a good job though of like making us feel like we're a part of it. Oh, we did this. It's like, hey, you wanted this to happen. I didn't do it. You did it. Y'all voted for this guy. Hell, I did. You know. And so when something happens, it's your fault. When we're about to go to war, hey, it's y'all fault. Y'all voted this dude in. Y'all wanted this.
Ain't nothing like them false flags.
Yeah.
And you see how the CIA, how they stage events to build the emotional tension in humanity.
They do a great job.
It takes a while to create wars, though. Like civil wars, you gotta constantly go at it to keep sticking at it, to build the emotional tension, to cause that civil war. So then we could implant a fake leader there and then steal the resources. You see? It takes a while to build that emotional tension, because naturally human beings don't want to go to war. So what they'll do is they always stage big events to try to all fake. I mean, everything's really fake. It's just that's why Shakespeare said the world is a stage and men and women are merely actors.
That's what there's a large portion. Jordan Maxwell gave me a lot in this book, and there was a bunch that I took out, and he just went in and in and in on that. I didn't include it in the book, but he was going into this Marxian thinking and how everything is a stage, and they fund both sides of the war. right? The good guys and the bad guys are funded by the same people that supply the guns, or who supply the tanks and things like that.
Yeah.
Or looking at like Burger King and McDonald's are owned by the same company. You think they're rivals, but there's one group of people who are getting paid off of all of it. So there's this like, competition. It's a fake competition. We talked about it the other day on the podcast. There's fake beef in hip hop. They act like they're beef and it sells records. The people are into it, but it's fake. It's set up. It's a reality show. And you said the whole world is a stage, dinner and a circus. But you're talking about the real occultists, some of the high levels. These people, they know color psychology. They know what ads and advertisings, and they know how to get your money, and they know how to keep you in. You can watch a movie and have a supernatural experience. You can watch a movie and have deep fear. I've watched movies, and afterward I had to pray and repent and get that bad energy off of me. Watch a movie and like, what did I watch? I'm sorry. Like, this was not good. Like, I got to get this off of me. Yeah. Because there's alchemy and occultism in these movies and with art, and they know what they're doing at the highest level. If they can do that in a movie, what can they do with the earth being a stage, and television and CNN and all this stuff? They got us, bro. It's crazy. We're trying to shake out of this stuff and wake up again.
For real. And the Vatican, which owns all the central banks, you got three popes, you got the Pope that we see, and then you have the Black Pope, who's like the Jesuit general. All right. But you have the Gray Pope, and he's one of the biggest parasites on earth. The Gray Pope is the one that really in the background, and he's almost like the one that runs the world company and stuff like that. You do got like the royal families and the Incubella and all that, but the Gray Pope is really high up there, and the Black Pope being like a militant or a Jesuit general. And that is the Jesuits that go out and were working to take over governments. Even back in the day, where if men in the community found out you were a Jesuit, they would beat your ass, put you in jail, and kick you out, because they know the only reason a Jesuit would be in this country was to take it over. So yeah.
But again, so with that, I know this is scary. It changes the atmosphere. Jordan Maxwell that's all he does. I love him so much, but he knows how to sway a conversation to where it's like I've had conversations with Jordan Maxwell, and he pulls all the air out of the room. Like, it's just straight, because I feel like we gave the hope at the beginning. Like, there's ways to, to get out of this. There's ways to kind of like overcome, to do your own spiritual work and to ascend. And this is only temporary and things like that. But like, there's people like Jordan Maxwell where they end there. Well, that's it. Nothing you can do about it. See ya. Like, I've had those conversations with Jordan, and I don't like them. Like, I believe in hope. I believe in spiritual alchemy. I believe that one day good is going to overthrow those. I think they're gonna pay their toll. That's why they're trying to live forever. That's why they're trying to live forever. That's why they're injecting the blood of children in their veins, because they're trying to prolong their judgment. I really believe that. So yeah, again, I think spirituality is hope. I think, again, looking at the example of Jesus and Christ and seeing the purity and that of love and truth, I think that's hope. What would you say? Because I think that everything we've been talking about is kind of hope to kind of, get your own house in order. What would you say to like encourage people after like a strong, 15, 20 minutes of just going in on all this dark stuff? That's real. You know what I'm saying? I know we like to bat an eye.
It started off with the light stuff, with the cultivation though, like the light, and we got into the dark. But the funny thing is, like, the whole thing about trillionaires and billionaires, it's not any wealth that they claim to have is through us. It's because we exist. You know what I mean? Even when you look at the pyramid, they say the ones at top control it, but the ones on the bottom lay the foundation. So even like with Jordan Maxwell, he broke this down beautifully. And even Santos Bonacci about the law, maritime law, current and flow. You know what I mean? And when you go to court, you ain't in America no more. So it's like the very fact that you look at the Vatican, and when you really look into it, all governments broke. The Vatican is broke, but it's through us. It's something about us. They came, all this Anunnaki and all this shit, they came here looking for you. They looking for you. You weren't born looking for them. You would have been perfectly happy with living a simple life, and you know what I mean? Just living in love. All that. All the extra stuff was what was implanted into you. So what I'm saying is that the imposter self that's implanted into you is them. Okay? They gave us their minds. So when you shed the layers of mind control, that's where energy cultivation comes in. If you could wake up and get to the point, even to where you eat 2 to 3 times a week, that's powerful. You living off you gaining and gaining this energy, getting a connection to this life force that they can't control. They only could manipulate it through us because they don't have a connection to it or through technology. We don't even need no middleman. We got the integrated technology right with us right now. You see? So the foundation to it all is learning how to cultivate spiritual energy through meditation, through the proper dietary protocol, through love. You know what I mean? Through just having a good, well-balanced life. Health is a foundation, okay? Health is a watered-down word. Nutrition is a watered-down word. Remember, we broke down in the beginning. Nut comes from the dark star, the force that fuels all the stars. When you think of nutrition, don't just think of what you put in your mouth. Remember, it's air and sunlight. Without that, you wouldn't even exist for even a couple seconds or a couple minutes. So what you put in your mouth is what you've believed to be nutrition as a cult. But when you go higher and higher, the more you could thrive on the subtle elements, fire, air, and not so much on just earthly gross material. You see, and we can end it with this. There's different energy sources, you see, and this is something Elatom Elamine, a known breatharian, said that changed my life. He said that most people live on dead plants and dead animals. The Cabal controls the cycle of dead plants and dead animals. But the ethers, the solar light, the light coming from the dark star, from the cosmos, from the earth, when you learn how to meditate and get yourself in the space to do that semen retention and cultivate, you start to see beyond everything. I'm talking about everything. And you realize that humanity, that you have to turn from becoming a professional at creating suffering to become a professional at creating sovereignty. That's the thing. We've gotten way too good at creating suffering. That's our dark alchemy. We are dark alchemists, and that's what we were trained to be. You creating your life. They're not creating your life. You creating your life. But you could create it and build it block by block with the right practices. Look into QiGung. Look into pranayama. Breathe properly. The breath work is key to taming the mind, to taming the body. The body is acting like a pet. That's why you enslaved to the system, because it's the avatar you have a soul with a silver cord, and you walk in this fucking pet around that you have to feed, and it wants sex, and it wants fries, and it wants this, and it wants that. But when you get to change the nature and mind of the cell, you realize that there's no system that exists. It only exists through the behaviorisms of your biological terrain. That's how you could get out. The only way out is in.
I like it. Good stuff, Mark. Hey, I appreciate it, bro. I'm gonna have your links again in all the show notes and stuff like that. But again, right here at the end, people want to add you on Facebook. What's the best way for them to find you and look up your work?
My name, I don't know, you type in Mark English, maybe they could go to you. If they have you as a friend, they could kind of look at mutual friends. Just type in Mark English. Instagram, I have a dumb name on Instagram. I need to change that. It's a high school name. But my Instagram name is Chinaman, because they used to call me that in high school. I got to change that, man. It's Chinaman 125. Chinaman 125 is on Instagram. You could message me on there, and I can send you the curriculum to the course. It's only $200 for everything. to learn the cultivation, biological terrain, and cellular transmutation, history, and all that stuff. I kind of grouped it. It's about, I'll say, 12 to 15 hours. And the class is every weekend. It's only on weekends, on Sundays, Saturday or Sunday. And it's a week in between each session. So after each session, you have 1 week, you see? Just wrote down. Yeah, when I come back in.
The week's end.
I gotta go, okay?
Oh, you got to head out? Okay. All right,
brother.
So,
Yeah, you can tell her goodbye, man. Thanks for hanging out. I will get all the information in the show notes. Send it over to me. I'll put it in there, man. Thanks for hanging out with me, bro.
all right, bro. Thanks, man.
All right, much love. Shalom. Peace.
Peace.
Mark English. Good stuff, man. Some deep knowledge. I like to kind of bring it on home a little bit there at the end. I always like to do that. I don't like to. I feel weird sometimes ending on a dark note, getting into some of the weird stuff that's going on out there. Not saying that it's not true, and not saying that it's not legit, but I like to end it on a positive note, man. It's just what I do. It's what this podcast is. So, for sure. Man, thanks for hanging out with me, guys. I think we covered a lot. I think we tied it in on how your anatomy is esoteric. It's connected to everything. On an exoteric, on the outside, that you're connected with it's as above, so below. So your body is connected to the cosmos, to the sun, to the hidden sun, to the stars. Your body's made out of stardust and the earth, right? Spirit, ether, if you will. Earth, air, fire, water, all takes place within you, and understanding that, knowing that, cultivating that. So it's as above, so below. So on earth as it is in heaven, if you will, as Jesus said. And then it goes as within, so without. And so he's breaking this stuff down to a subatomic level and a microscopic level. There's so much to that. It's so interesting. We talk about this a lot, the different entities and little microscopic organisms that are living on your body. It's its own ecosystem, and they exist cohesively. And he talked about the different, some people's body is like a ghetto. It's a rundown community where there's riots and drug sales on every corner, and there's not a father in the home. You know what I'm saying? People are just doing what they want to do. Nobody's going to work. You got cells that's supposed to be going to work, but they refuse to work. They want to sell drugs and get paid the easy way. So your body is optimized, is performing at minimal optimization because of the things that you're putting in it, because there is no spiritual practice. There is no inner knowing. And so all of this stuff comes into place. So it comes in, it all works together. All things work together for your good. All of it, from as above, so below, as within, so without, on every level. And so it's awesome that you're not just a victim anymore. Now that you have the knowledge, now that you can look this stuff up and do it yourself, you become co-creators with the Elohim. You become co-creators with God. You're not a victim anymore. You're not a victim. You're not a victim to your circumstance and to your situation. That you create your reality. You create your truth. And, you just take that excuse away. It's awesome. I love it. And there's so much more. We talked about the solar system. Talked about diet, mentioned plant medicine, didn't really go into it. Sun gazing, the breath, grounding. Man, I hope you're encouraged after that. I hope there's I hope there's something, again, you can take away from it and look it up. Like, if that's what the podcast does, everybody has a piece of the puzzle, man. You take that piece, look it up, apply it to your life. So much there. Really enjoyed this episode. We've done over almost 3.5 hours. So thank you guys for hanging out. Pretty sure that this episode will not be able to be monetized on YouTube because of some of the keywords and things that we talked about. But why hold back because of the sake of money, especially when I have a community of people who believe in my work and support me via Patreon. So that's why I need your help. If you enjoyed this episode, want to see more just like it, make sure you support my work on Patreon. Any level of giving, $1. $1. There's levels for there. All you can do is $1 a month. You know, any level, man, there's different tiers and things that you get. You get access to my entire discography of music, all of that stuff. So thank you guys for believing in the work and for partnering with me and moving forward into 2020. So much planned. I'm excited about it. Head on over to patreon.com/TruthSeekah. Get access to everything that I have there. With that, I'm going to say peace and shalom. Join us Thursday night for the Thursday Night School of the Mystics. We worked through, we opened up the what is it? The name of that course, A Course in Miracles. So we just got through, like, I think it was 10 of the principles, I think it was. And we had discussion, but it was really good. And it was a good way to open up discussion in the Course of Miracles. I think I want to get into some, we've been talking about doing some channeling and like teaching each other and having a practice on how to channel. Channel who, channel what. You know, from us, we're channeling the Holy Spirit. We'll teach you how to channel the Father's heart. I don't care, you know, about channeling dead ancestors myself. That's for other people. I don't do that. But we're going to teach you how to channel, to be able to be a conduit of that energy and what God is saying. And Scripture always tells us that God is always speaking, but most of the time we're not listening. Teach you how to listen to that voice, hear that voice for yourself, and the boldness and confidence to speak it out. And once you find out that, hey, there's something to this, and you get comfortable with using your spiritual abilities, your ESP, extrasensory perception, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, you're uniquely and divinely made. You are fearfully and wonderfully created for a reason, and all of those things are within your esoteric anatomy. We talked about how it relates back to the physical plane. The physical, the dirt, the earth, your body, your skin, your hair, all of that stuff. We talk about your etheric body too. We mentioned it, but every single level, man, fearfully and wonderfully made, and you have to feed all of it. Feed your body the right type of things with the right nutrients, and feed your spiritual body with the right type of information and practices as well. So make sure you guys check us out Thursday night, School of the Mystics. Get access via Patreon. Let's see. Yeah. Eric says he watched the whole show. I'm going to listen to it again. Yeah, it was a bunch of stuff. So I hope y'all enjoyed, man. With that, I'm going to say peace and shalom, and we'll do it again. Peace.
Have a book, product, or service you'd like to promote? Look no further. Ad slots and commercials are now available for you to get the word out about what you do on the TruthSeekah Podcast.
We give you what you need.
Engage the spiritual community and get yourself instantly in front of thousands of listeners who explore the spiritual, paranormal, supernatural, religious, and metaphysical realms. Have your commercial inserted into our entire archive of episodes. That includes the one with Jordan Maxwell, James Gilliland, Dr. Michael Heiser, and that weird one with Busy Bone from Bone Thugs and Harmony. Stop sleeping on yourself. Know your worth. Let's get the word out today about what you have to offer. Head on over to TruthSeekah.com and click on Advertise for more info.
Your way so much higher than mine, so much higher than mine. So much deeper than mine, so much deeper than mine.
Well, that does it for this episode, folks. To hear more episodes of the TruthSeekah Podcast, head over to TruthSeekah.com. And if you're wanting to support the show and get rewards, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/TruthSeekah.